Talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Good morning. It's a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I guess that would make me Glenn Clark. I guess that would make him Griffin Bass. And I guess that would make you you. I assume. I don't know what else the other options would be, so we'll just go with that. A really weird vibe around town. Just a very strange feel. Because, and I'll get into it, I'm writing about it today at PressBoxOnline.com. I sent out a tweet on Friday night that said, and I want to make sure I have the wording correct because lots of things, and I don't want to try to absolve myself of blame if somebody thinks that I'm saying it in a different way. The tweet said verbatim, I think there's a chance they're just not a good baseball team. And it got people kind of whipped into a frenzy on both ends of the spectrum. It allowed for the people that like just want to be the loudest for the sake of being the loudest to say, yeah, they're garbage, Brandon Hyde needs to be fired, whatever you want to say. And then, of course, for those people, then there's the people on the other side of the spectrum. The people on the other side of the spectrum are the people that say, this is nonsense. You're just out here trying to get attention on the internet by giving out hot takes. Which is quite hilarious because, again, if you read what I actually wrote and don't just react to what other people are saying, you'll understand that what I said could not have been milder. I think there's a chance they're just not a good baseball team. Now, you see, when you say it that way, what you're saying is there's also a chance that they are a good baseball team.
Yeah, but you didn't say that.
Right. But what I said isn't they're not a good baseball team. Or I think there's a chance they suck ass. Or something along those lines.
Well, there's a chance that is true.
What I said is about as mild and innocuous as it is. It probably speaks to society's negativity bias. That, like, something like this gets all the attention in the world. Gets lots of traction, lots of engagement, lots of views, whatever. Whereas if I say, that was a good win, Jackson Holiday played well, then two people would see it. It's a negativity bias thing for sure. But it's sort of a social experiment when you do something like this because you recognize quite quickly, like, this is the way the world works. Nobody actually is reacting to what you say. Because if you were reacting to what I said, you'd say, that's nothing. Because it's really just the way that I felt. Like, watching a baseball game on Friday night, I was like, man, they don't look like a very good baseball team. And so I said that in similar terms. But people heard or read what they wanted to read. And I don't really know why that is. But it does speak to the vibes that surround the Orioles as they're off to a 4-6 start. And we're going to dive in further today, some various guests that'll join us, because I think the crux of this is whether or not we believe that this, what we're seeing to start the season, how attached it is to what we saw in the second half of last year. and a team that went 42 and 46, which becomes 42 and 48 if you were to include the playoffs, starting on, I think the date is June 21st. Because that's now a really sizable chunk of baseball in which they've been a sub-500 team. But it's not as easy to attach the two things as we want it to be. Teams do change. There are different players. There are different circumstances. There are different vibes, whatever. Just making it so that this is whatever happened to them in the second half of last year is the same thing that's happening this year requires you to say, well, like, Adley Rutschman was a disaster in the second half of last year. That's how that happened. Well, he hasn't been a disaster to start this season. So what's going on this year? And there just feels like there's a general lethargy that kind of came in around this team, and all of the positive vibes and the fun and the joy of baseball that we experienced 2022 into 2023 and then the start of 2024, it's been more muted. Now, this is the chicken and the egg, right? It's does winning begat that, or does culture begat winning? Like if I said, put a disco ball in the dugout, would that solve all of the problems? Probably not. Although
I know.
yeah, right. Like, I'm
worst.
not unwilling to consider.
Not the worst idea.
Right. No, I've definitely had worse. There's no question about that. It's complicated because there's nothing in particular. Like, it's easy to say the pitching is the problem. And I think on the whole, most of us believe that the pitching is the problem. But like if you separated the disaster of CNL Perez, like if CNL Perez's numbers were taken away, they'd be in the top half of team ERA and, most pitching stats. It's the CNL Perez boondoggle. I didn't even say that correctly. It's the CNL Perez problem that's dropped them down to the bottom of the third, the bottom third of the league.
I don't know what boondoggle means.
Yeah, it's I used it incorrectly there. Like, it's one of those words that like you want to use because it's a good word.
Yeah.
But then you use it incorrectly, and you're
you kind of, it's like work or activity that is wasteful or pointless.
Yeah.
But gives the appearance of having value.
That's the part that like there's no.
Well, I mean, he's throwing. He's getting out of innings.
Is he though? I can't really argue that, like.
So it appears like he's doing his job, even though.
No, it doesn't really. It was close. It was very close to the correct term, but it wasn't the correct term. The pitching's not good. The hitting, again, it's very weird because it's literally all or nothing. They don't score 5 runs. They score 3 or they score 8. Or they score 1 or they score 3 or fewer or they score 8.
Yeah.
They don't have middle-of-the-road offensive performances. So those big numbers make it so their numbers on the whole are pretty good. They are in the top 10 of baseball in runs and OPS and things along those lines. But yet, we know that the offense is a part of the problem, if not a big part of the problem. And yet it's hard to define because it's more a consistency problem than it is anything else. Home runs, that's weird, right? Like they hit 6 home runs on opening day. They've hit 5 since. That part is weird. But yet, are we panicked that this team can't hit home runs? I remember having that conversation with folks before last year and everybody kind of scoffing at me. But it was Anthony Santander in particular who kind of made that problem go away. I do think that's a relevant conversation again. Like, Tyler O'Neill is not off to a bad start to the season, but his value has to involve him hitting home runs. And it's always easy to say, hey, the ball is going to start flying out of the ballpark more as the weather gets warmer. That's the way it tends to go. And that's probably the case. Probably. But it is weird. I can't shake that. Save for one game, they've hit 5 home runs in the other 9. Remember a year ago, the problem was they were too reliant on the home run ball. Now they don't hit them. It's just a very strange kind of turn of events for this baseball team. The easy thing that people are coming to is, this is the way it always works around here. It's eternally what we do. Blame the coach. Blame the manager. It's just who we are, right? Like it's as a people, and it might be the same way in most markets. I can speak to this market. In this market, it's always fire the coach, fire the manager. And it always goes like this. Step 1, fire coach. Step 2,
step 2 is win.
No, step 2 is shrug your shoulders. Step 3 is win. Step 3 is you go win the World Series.
Well, it's a 2-step process.
Fire manager, win World Series. What changes about this team when you fire the manager? I don't know. But if you do it, you'll just win the World Series. That's the way it works. If you just fire John Harbaugh, you'll win the Super Bowl. That's the way we exist as a people. It's who we are. It's what we do. Our granddaddy did it. We did it. That's the way we go. And when I say we, I'm not including myself in that conversation. But maybe if I didn't do this for a living, I would be there because that's what everybody in this town does. So maybe I would just be like everybody else. I don't know. And it's not even me trying to particularly defend Brandon Hyde, because trust me, I feel the same way that you all feel about Jorge Mateo being in center field. Although a few of you are people that have said in the past, I think they should give Jorge Mateo a shot to play in center field. You're not going to raise your hand and identify yourselves, but a same couple of you, I know who you are.
But not necessarily when you have a center fielder on the team.
I understand.
Who's playing very well.
I understand that. I understand. But then when? And I'm not defending it either.
Never.
Yeah. I'm not defending it because I don't think Jorge Mateo, I was never the person. Like the idea that Jorge Mateo needed a new position. I remember Paul Valley is one. I don't know how he reacted yesterday and get a chance to watch the bat around. Maybe I can ask Zach when he's on with us. But Paul would have to raise his hand and say he's someone that's always thought that Jorge Mateo should get some run in center field. And whenever that conversation came up, I would always say to him, why is the position the problem for Jorge Mateo? Like, he plays a good defensive shortstop. Why do you need a new position? You've got a really good center fielder. What are we doing here? I've never been in that camp that thought that Jorge Mateo needed to play center field. The argument yesterday is, why wouldn't it just be Laureano in center field and Heston Kjerstad in left? And I agree. You've got it. I agree with Twitter. I agree with the internet. The answer that was given by Brandon Hyde is, well, we went out and got all these right-handed bats. We got to have these right-handed bats in the lineup. That's the reason why we signed them. You would say, of course, but Bubic has reverse splits. Right-handers don't have this advantage against Bubic. To which he says, but they've got to play at some point, and we've got nothing but righties lined up. So if we got to play them, we need to play them against the lefty. And it all sounds like it's thought out, to the point that I always come back to whenever we start freaking out about Brandon Hyde. If you think that Brandon Hyde is making these decisions on his own and spitting in the face of what the front office wants him to do, you're a moron. And that doesn't mean that you absolve Brandon Hyde of criticism or second-guessing. It's that this thing where you just want to separate the manager because you've convinced yourself replace manager, shrug, win World Series is nonsense. You do it for your own edification. The next manager, if this were to happen, would be someone who would extend the organizational philosophy. What they want, he would be expected to do. As we discussed with Stan on Friday, there's maybe 2 managers in all of baseball that have more autonomy. The game has changed. which doesn't mean, when I say that, people hear, oh, you think that Mike Elias is writing out the lineup card and telling Brandon Hyde? No. You're hearing what you want to hear. What I'm saying is they're in it together. Mike Elias doesn't have to do that because there is a common knowledge of what they want to do. When I heard Brandon Hyde postgame say yesterday, well, we went out and signed all these right-handed bats, what I heard was the organization together said, we went out and signed these right-handed bats because they need to be in the lineup. They need to play. I don't think Brandon Hyde was the one who specifically signed Ramon Laureano.
Maybe it was.
Maybe.
When he went to Michael Elias, I need Ramon
Right.
Laureano.
Maybe.
I need him.
But my gut is it wasn't him. Just my gut. Now, does that mean that when they signed Ramon Laureano, Mike Elias said, and you will play him every time you face a left-handed pitcher no matter what? Or was it just understood? That's what these guys are here for. That's what they're going to do. You hear it as one thing. What I'm telling you is it's a marriage. Because that's baseball now. The baseball people, the Ivy League educated people that are being brought in to run these organizations are the ones that are being trusted to make the best decision based on the data. And you yell back, but you scream about analytics or you do whatever you want to do, and that's fine. You like it when you like it. Like yesterday, you want to tell me about the reverse splits. And I don't blame you. I do think it matters. I do think it should have been taken into consideration. I'm not as panicked about the need to get guys into games the way you are. Yesterday, there was a lot of defense of, well, Cedric Mullins can't play every day. He's been through a lot of injuries. We can't lose Cedric Mullins. He's too important. We've got to get him a day off. And that's, by the way, to me, a fairly compelling argument.
And then you have that argument for Tyler O'Neill as well. Like he's a guy that's dealt with injuries.
I don't
feel
know that.
Like
They brought up
Santander.
They brought up specifically that it's lower body injuries for Cedric Mullins, and
right.
that's part of the situation. Like I don't know. I don't know the argument about O'Neill, right?
Mm-hmm.
That argument is strong for me on Mullins. Also, Mullins to me is a more important part of this because Mullins is one of the few guys that does something different. Like, has a skill set, a very particular set of skills. Good luck. I'm not good. I'm not going to have to work on my Liam Neeson is just not strong. I'm very excited about the Naked Gun, though. I hate that. I hate that I am because I hate that it's happening. But damn it if they didn't get me. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I don't want this to exist. This is a bad idea. And I'm going to go watch it for sure. Moral of the story being, I get the concept. But the idea that it's all, if you think that the manager of the team is freewheeling, you're insane. It's bonkers to think that way. Like, it's so detached from reality. I can't believe that it is an opinion held by anyone. But that's what makes it easy. You decide the manager is the problem, you no longer want to have that conversation. I do think that at some point, if the Orioles continue to be lethargic, if they continue to be 500 or a little below 500 a couple months into the season, there might be a point at which the manager goes, but not because it's the manager's fault, because that's just the way this works. Because you do something hoping to provide the proverbial spark. It's just sort of the brainless thing that we've come up with. Does it work? Not really. I mean, there's not really a whole track record of fire your manager mid-season, all of a sudden you win the World Series. There's not. You don't really see that. Like,
the only one everyone just keeps pointing to in recent memory is the Rob Thompson, right? Yeah.
When was that?
That was the Phillies fired Girardi, and then they made it to the NLCS. Is that
right?
Or did they make the World Series? Maybe they did.
Maybe
they lost the World Series.
They lost the World Series.
Yeah.
So there's the one
22.
example of a team that didn't win the World Series, but, was definitely better post-managerial firing. But we use that one because we want that to be reality. Confirmation bias. It can happen, and I want it to happen, so that's what will happen. Most likely not. Like, that's the one, which, again, didn't even win the World Series. But it's the one. We go to that because we want what we want. Again, the plan is fire manager, shrug, win World Series. And you can't get to that unless you fire manager first. We got to get to the shrugging part, man. Like, we're all ready to shrug. Let's go. Come on, dog. Been practicing shrugging for weeks. How are we going to get to step 2? We're going to have a shrug party. We're all going to get together and just... It was the security guard from the United Center when Michael Jordan was playing quarters against the wall. We were all going to do the same thing. How good was that SNL sketch, man? That's one of the great SNL sketches of modern history, and nobody talks about it. It was phenomenal. Who was it? Was it Heidi Gardner playing the security guard? She rules. She's so funny. At some point, the conversation could have to be had. The people that are saying, and by the way, and I love you all that are on the internet, the people that on Friday night were like, dude, it's 8 games into the season. Holy F. Like,
Yeah, you need to get a grip, Glenn. All right?
Like,
come on.
Imagine thinking that the person that you're talking to doesn't know how many games into the season it is. Like, imagine that being the way that you're operating. Oh, God. I didn't realize. See, I thought it was July. That's why I was going to the beach this week. Look at the weather. Perfect beach weather.
Typically is how it goes when you the 1 week you
Just
go to the beach.
Just the breathless stupidity of, and the number of people that want to compare. Dude, it's like the equivalent of one football game. My God. Like, who are you talking to?
This is what we do after one football game, by the way. So
Yeah, it is 100%. There's no question that we do the exact same thing after one football game. But it's just so breathless the way that we think that we are informing people of something that we know. We just want to be. I need what's his face? I need Carson Weekly back to tell everybody how pretty they are. Like, God, we know your mother loves you dearly, and you are just the most precious, beautiful butterfly. You are so very smart. But believe it or not, you don't know things that other people don't know.
Refresh the page to hear the sounds.
Oh, yep, there it is.
Please refresh the page to hear.
There we go. That was Carson telling everyone they're pretty. You like that?
I want to use the F word so badly right now. Every now and then I think, like, we do a really good show. I feel like this show could be.
It was, yeah.
And then something like that happens, and I'm just like. See, I was giving Griffin the opportunity to find the sounder of Carson telling everyone how pretty they were. Yeah, that was definitely not that.
That was the sounder.
Definitely not that. Now, it was forced. Even if he had gotten it right, it was forced. Because it wasn't prepared. He didn't have it in front of him. I was kind of dragging it out for a second for the sake of a mediocre payoff. But instead, I got that. Welcome. That is Glenn Clark Radio. That's what this program. Sometimes I wonder, and then I'm like, nope, that's the reason. I remember now. That's what this is. You're all very pretty. You know how many games it's been. Congratulations. So do the rest of us. I don't know if the Orioles are a good baseball team or not. I have serious concerns about the pitching. I know my buddy Steve Johnson. God, he was getting after it. He was on one last night. I thought he'd be fired up because I know he's one of the Capitals fans in town, so I thought yesterday was a good day for him. Boy, he was getting after it. Everybody's yelling about the pitching. You looked at Corbin Burns' ERA? I hadn't, for the record, through 2 starts. Not great. Not great. Now, it's Corbin Burns, so I'm going to guess he's going to be okay. I'm going to guess that. And Corbin Burns not getting off to a great start doesn't change the reality of what the Orioles are dealing with, which is that you have to It's so bad that you want to convince yourself that Cade Povich made progress yesterday despite the fact that he pitched to a 2-whip. Because what you want to do is say, yeah, but he did battle to get through 6 innings. And he did. He did. It could have been worse. You want to absolve him of blame because Jorge Mateo should have caught the ball. And yes, he should have, unquestionably. Now, that was one of the 13 hits that he gave up. What about the other 12?
Well, what, 4 came after
Right.
what should have been a 3-up, 3-down first inning.
And we do this bit where we're like, well, then the rest of them don't count. Because in the math where, like, that could have been unearned runs if that had been called an error, then these other things don't count. As if it's not still the pitcher's responsibility to go get the next guy out. Like, that's the way this works. Yeah, that sucks, but you don't get to suddenly pretend like something was what it wasn't. I'm not telling you Cade Povich should be kicked out of the rotation, but we don't get to pretend that something was what it wasn't, or that we moved the goalposts because it's so bad. It's like doing this with Charlie Morton last week, pretending, God bless him, he threw 10 strikeouts. He put a lot of balls out over the plate. A lot. And a lot of them got hammered. Could it be that Charlie Morton builds off of the 10 strikeouts specifically and is better next time out? Possibly. But it wasn't a good start. We don't get to pretend like that was a good start because we're desperate. Even the one kind of good start you got from Tomo Sagano is mitigated because in the 6th inning, after you spot him 4 more runs, he can't get through it. It's the closest thing you had to a good start, but it wasn't a good start. It was okay. And I know we're in the goalpost moving era. Like, well, you're not getting good starts, so you got to take that and be encouraged by it. If it's a step in the process, if it's what leads to more quality starts, then sure. But you got to see that. You don't get to pretend like that's definitely the way it's going to go. If that changes in the coming weeks, we'll probably change our opinion. We'll probably have a much different conversation. But until it does, it is what it is. The Orioles continue to have one starting pitcher that you can rely on right now. The offense continues to be inconsistent. Part of that, to me, is constructing the team. That's why when you guys scream about Brandon Hyde, I'm come back to, I don't know how good of a baseball team it is. I just don't know. I don't know what another manager would be doing with one starting pitcher. You'd have to point that out to me. Like, where's the other place where they have one starting pitcher that they can rely on and the team's very good? And no, it doesn't absolve them of their offensive performance yesterday. I get it. They've got to be able to win some games 5-4, 6-5. It can't always be 8 or nothing. All of the above. But part of it is I'm not sure how well this team was built. And I think that we kind of forgot that because we were just excited about baseball starting again when we knew better. This team was seriously flawed. There's a reason why we were freaking out about the lack of activity this offseason. They were a team with warts that got worse. And we're kind of watching it come to roost. We'll talk about it with Zach Moore when we come back in, former Orioles farmhand, PigTownSports creator, and co-host of the Bat Around. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farms stores, or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
I did mean to put Jackson Holiday up on the board. That was the one. Unfortunately, I thought for sure it was going to be Sagano on Saturday, but I could not justify. Team goes out and gets you the runs, gives you the chance. He was laboring in the 5th. They go out, they get the separation, and you're like, all right, now he can coast through the 6th, post a quality start, and wasn't meant to be. But 3-hit day for Jackson Holiday, including the triple, and so he was man of the match for the first time this season on Saturday, and he's lonely. Only man of the match that goes up on the board for the weekend is Jackson Holiday. Could use a few more of these up here this season. That's what we got. Can't do anything about that. Those are the 4. Let's continue to discuss the Orioles' 4-6 start to the season. Joining us now, buddy of ours, former Birds farmhand, creator for PigTownSports, and you see him most weeks on the Bat Around with Paul here at Press Box. He is our friend Zach Moore, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Zach, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm struggling most with separating. In another world, a team gets off to a 4-6 start. You're largely willing to teams are going to go. The best teams in baseball are going to have stretches where they go 4-6 during the course of the season. That's the way it goes. It's the question of how you separate it or not from a 42-46 finish to the season a year ago, and this prolonged feeling of lethargy, of just inconsistent, kind of lifeless, not so fun baseball. Like, I don't know what to make of the prolonged period. Is there a bigger problem that dates back to last year? Is this just a 10-game stretch that we view on its own and admit that, like, hey, they didn't get Gunnar back until yesterday. He's still working his way back into form. Like, how do we handle this and really look at it fairly?
I mean, look, 10-game stretches, like you said, you go through struggles all the time, and some teams just look terrible 10 games all the time. Commenting on last year, though, what has been kind of repeating itself is when this team gets down late, I feel like in 2023, like we were never out of a game. 4 runs late in the game didn't matter. Now it's like when we get down like 3 runs, 4 runs, it's just like, oh man, like game's over. Like that spark isn't there right now. If they don't jump out to a quick lead, it's like we kind of just watch them go through the motions the rest of the game. So that's where I see kind of the concerning part, coming over from last year, because it was kind of the same way in the second half. I don't know how you fix that right now. It seems like it's impossible.
I guess let me try to get it from a baseball standpoint. Is it player leadership? I know everybody wants to yell about the manager, and that's fine. That's the way that it works. How do you define that? How do you define a team that doesn't appear to have the right body language, if we will?
Could it be manager? Sure. Baseball is a mental thing. So if and I'm not saying that this is the case, but if you're upset with the manager, things kind of shut down. If you're upset with your own personal performance, things shut down. So it could be a lot of things. It just doesn't seem like there's somebody there reminding them that you're a really good ball player, and it only takes one swing to get the whole team going. One loud line drive off the bat, kind of get into the pitcher's head kind of thing. It just seems like that it's acceptable to everybody, and it might not be. We don't get to hear what's in the dugout or whatnot, but it just seems on TV it's acceptable that everybody kind of just falls into the motion altogether.
Does it feel like that they're lacking a demonstrative leader, like someone who would be more like? And I don't know who that guy would be of this group. Clearly, once upon a time, that was an Adam Jones role, but there's only one. Like, not everybody is Adam Jones. Is that maybe perhaps part of this issue, that there isn't someone who's willing to be demonstrative and get in their faces about this?
It very well could be. I mean, there's a lot of outstanding ball players on this team, and I feel like they're all extremely nice, and especially extremely nice to each other and to the fans. I don't really see anybody jumping each other's case. Excuse me. A couple of years ago, Hyde would get a little excited with Chris Davis in the dugout. Like, we don't see that anymore. So it very well could be. I mean, sometimes that's all it does take is just to, yes, your best friend coming over and say, you're better than that. Like, let's get it going kind of thing. And I feel like these guys would respond to that. I don't know if anybody wants to do that to their friend on this team. It just feels weird.
He is Zach Moore, PigTownSports. He's with us here on GCR. Zach, let's try to hone in a little bit more about the baseball stuff. The thing that really jumps out to me at the start of this season, I remember a year ago we were all panicked like, hey, are they too reliant on the home run ball? They hit 6 home runs on opening day. They've hit 5 since then. Is there a pop problem on this team?
I don't say there's a pop problem. I mean, they're hitting the ball hard. Sometimes you just get beat by a good pitch, and look, they got really beat by good pitches in that Kansas City series. They had a couple loud outs. Bobby Witt made a couple fantastic plays. Are they not getting the lift on the ball like they were? Sure. I mean, it was extremely windy. I mean, give yourself a chance to get on by not hitting the ball in the air if the wind's blown in. That could have played into a lot of different things. Look, if we can't yell that they're living and dying by the home run and then be like, oh, they're not hitting enough. As long as they're hitting the ball hard, I'm okay with that. It seems like their opposite field approach has kind of gotten better this year. They're hitting the ball to the right side with the man on second more. I still feel like at times they are swinging for the fence. We got beat a lot in this series on a high and away fastball, and we just missed it. And I don't know if you saw guys like Holiday and Kerstead stay on that ball and hit it into left field. O'Neill did it a couple times, hitting it to right center field. Can they cut down on it a little bit? Yeah. I think when you get into a better place like Arizona, it's going to be a little bit warmer. I think some of these balls that we hit are probably going to go out. Like, there's 2 that O'Neill hit in the center field are likely probably going to go out in a warmer climate. It's hard to hit a baseball through 40 degrees and windy, that's for sure.
That's true. That is fair. Obviously, the weather was a factor in Kansas City. With all this in mind, I obviously the conversation from yesterday centers around Jorge Mateo playing in center field. Look, the Orioles scored 1 run. I'm not really sure that they're going to win that baseball game no matter what, but give me your reaction. There are lots of people that have clamored in the past for Jorge Mateo to get an opportunity to play in the outfield. I would not say that I am one of them. I am as confused as everyone else is by what was going on there, and why doesn't Heston Kjerstad play in left if you feel like you need Cedric Mullins to have the day off? The argument about, you're going to face righties and you got to get these guys into the lineup and the reverse split stuff, I feel like we can twist ourselves into knots over this. I just don't think you can in any way justify the idea that Jorge Mateo needs to be playing in center field.
No. look, they can say he got practice reps all they want since Cowser went down. Cowser's been out, 5-6 days? Like, that's not enough time to get big league reps in a windy stadium against a team that you're probably going to see in October again, if you make it there, to just throw him out there. I mean, I understand the whole Cedric's lower body stuff. They're trying to keep him healthy. Like, cool. Like, Cedric is career-wise healthier in the lower half than Tyler O'Neill. And Tyler O'Neill hasn't had that many days off yet. I don't know if that was – I don't want to say it was an excuse. I think they just really wanted to get Mateo in the lineup, and that was the best spot that they could, and they didn't want to load it with lefties for some reason. I'm not a fan of it. I saw him try to play last year. You know, he made that one really nice running play into the fence, which, you know, I was grateful for, obviously, but his routes aren't great. We saw it yesterday. You know, the route wasn't that great even to that ball. Just don't force things, you know. If he was practicing this for a couple months, then, yeah, maybe throw him in late in the game. You know, if you're either getting blown out or you're blowing someone out, like, then get his reps then. But I don't think you just, you know, you haven't won a series yet and just, hey, let's just throw Jorge Mateo out in center field. Like, I feel like the whole team's demeanor when he missed that ball was just gone after that. Like, it just seems like everybody's shoulders went down, and, you know, Cade got hit around pretty hard after that, which I thought he looked fairly decent prior to that. I mean, it was only 2 batters, but still. I think it let the wind out of the sails a little bit that quickly yesterday. And you don't always have to agree with your manager, but it almost seemed like that team just was like, we'll accept this. And then when that happened, it was just like, we knew this was coming.
So there would be so many layers of that would be a problem to me. Like, if that's what deflates you, then, dude, you are a soft team. Like, that's one ball. Like, if one thing going wrong or one thing is what deflates you, like, there are, to me, massively bigger problems with it.
Oh, I agree.
It's like, I can't even begin to describe. Now, that all being said, the other issue I have, and I think it came up, and Zach, I've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm not even here to try to tell you that I think that Brandon Hyde's a great manager, because I have no idea if Brandon Hyde's. I think he's done a pretty good job. But when you hear after the game him say, well, we went out and got all these right-handed hitters, we got to get him in the lineup. We got to do it, even if there's reverse splits, we got to do it against the one lefty. Like, when you hear that, what I'm hearing is the same thing that I've told people over and over again, which is trying to pin this all on Brandon Hyde, because we exist in a world where we just love firing coaches in this town. It's who we are as a fan base. If we fire the coach, again, shrug our shoulders, then we go win championship afterwards. That's just the way that we think. It's who we are as a people. But when you hear that, what you're hearing is the truth, which is this is not Brandon Hyde just freewheeling and doing these things for funsies. That's insane that you think that way. The Yale-educated people that are running the baseball team have a philosophy. Brandon Hyde works with them to employ that philosophy. And when I say that out loud, people accuse me, like, are you saying that Mike Elias calls down to the dugout and says, put this guy in to pinch hit? No, I'm saying they all do it together. They all have the data. They all decide what's going to work, and they work on it together. And so when we draw the ire towards Brandon Hyde, he's telling you after the game what's going on. The front office decided to prioritize signing right-handed bats in the offseason, so I've got to play those guys. That's the way that this works. And we can scream about it and hate it and not, but like trying to separate Brandon Hyde and just assume that if there was some other manager in there, that there would be wildly different decisions that would be made is nonsense to me. Like, the baseball direction comes from the person that's in charge, because that's the way that baseball works in 2025.
Oh, I agree. I mean, and I've said it myself. I mean, I made the post about, you know, the Phillies firing their manager and going on to win the World Series, but the game's not played like it was back then. You know, it's changed, and Mike Elias and Sig have a lot of control over this team. And like you said, they are meeting, and they're all going through the numbers together. Look, they spent $19 million on right-handed guys last year. You know, before Mateo picked up his option, that was like 3. Lariano was 6 something, and then Sanchez was 10. I mean, they're going to play those guys. I don't know if you need to play them all at once. I think that was probably more the outcry from everybody. You know, but yeah, that is coming down from up top. And I heard his comments about, you know, we're playing a lot of righties here coming up. You know, they were going to get buried on the bench for a while. And that's the only little part that I had an issue with. Like, they are platoon players. Let's not try to force them into being regulars. Certain matchups, you know, I would want Lariano against a left-hander over maybe Kerstad. You know, if a guy hides the ball extremely well, I understand that one 1,000%. But, you know, look, Ramon Urias has earned some playing time through the end of last year and this year. Like, if you need a right-handed DH, it's okay to DH Ramon Urias. He's earned it. And, I mean, and Gary's going to get his hits eventually. He's struggling and scuffling right now, but
obviously he had a big one on Saturday, right? Like, he had the biggest hit of the weekend, arguably.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's okay. You don't want to bury these guys. Trust me. You don't want to sit a guy for 9 straight games and then just expect him to come out and get some hits in the 10th. Like, I completely understand that part of it. I think what people are starting to get mad is like when Jorge Mateo has 4 or 5 starts already through 5 games. Like, that's where even myself gets a little frustrated. I'm like, he's a platoon player. Let's treat him as that.
I don't disagree with that.
But
I don't disagree with that. Let me add to this because I do think that it's troubling the inconsistency of the offense. I'm not going to skip, like my buddy I mentioned earlier, Steve Johnson and I were texting last night, and Steve's like, hey, you know, are we going to talk about the fact that it's really the offense and not the pitching that's the problem? I can't hide behind – I can't move the goalposts on the pitching because our expectations are so low that we try to say, well, yeah, but, you know, Charlie Morton had 10 strikeouts the other night. Yeah, because he left the ball in the middle of the plate and he got it crushed a bunch of times. You know, or we say, hey, Cade Povich, give him credit for battling for 6 innings and, you know, at least getting through it. Like, I do give him an amount of credit, but I don't get to change that into Cade Povich was good yesterday. He wasn't. He wasn't good. He got tattered. Tomo Sagano was gifted a blowout to please go get through a 6th inning. Just a 6th. The game's a blowout now. All we need you to do is go back out there and get one more inning so that someone can go 6 innings, and he couldn't do it. I can't move the goalposts on the pitching because our expectations are low and pretend like it's not still a serious part of the problem. But tell me of what we've seen, of the things we want to be encouraged by, what to you is actually encouraging and might be moving towards somewhere where maybe this team has more than one starting pitcher moving forward.
It's tough to gauge through 10 starts already. I mean, but I've been kind of, I don't want to say pissy about it, but I've been a little pissy about it, you know, allowing Charlie Morton to only have 8 innings in spring training and then just come out here and just expect him to perform at 41 years old. Like, that wasn't smart, on my opinion. Like, you got Eflin, I think, had like 11 or 12, but you know what? He's in his 20s. You know, his body's probably conditioned to, you know, not have a whole bunch of innings in spring training and then, you know, come out here and throw 85 pitches. He's okay to do that. Charlie, over the last couple of years, hasn't really pitched much in spring training, and he started slow. Same with Dean Kramer. I mean, Rita and I talked about it. He has over a 5.6 ERA in the month of March and April. So he starts slow. Why don't you ramp him up in spring training more? I don't know if that's an organizational thing. They're trying to keep him healthy, which that's why I think we have to wait longer than we probably all want to. Cade had 26 innings. Suarez had 25 innings or something like that. Certain guys got their innings in and they've looked okay, other than Suarez getting hurt. I don't know. I feel like they dropped the ball on that, and we have to wait longer when it matters rather than doing it when it didn't. And I think that was a organizational failure, in my opinion.
Remind everybody where they can find you, Zach.
Pretty much everywhere. All social media is at PigTownSports.
That's where you find him. And, of course, a lot of weeks you'll hear him on the Bat Around with Paul on Sundays here at Press Box. Appreciate you, buddy. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
All right, thanks, guys.
Zach Moore, former Orioles farmhand, PigTownSports creator, with us here on GCR. Let me take a momentary pause. We'll get back into Orioles conversation when Jon Meoli joins us at the top of the hour. Have we investigated what Mark Terrell might know about basketball? Have we looked into that? You realize that, like, this is coming down to tonight. Our bracket contest is between Mark Terrell, mark my word, host Jay Moore, and your boy.
Really, you're gonna come? Well,
The only two that are alive.
Something's not right then.
Going into tonight, if Florida wins, Mark Terrell wins, if Houston wins, then your boy will be the champion, and I will have some thoughts about what we can do with the $650. But to that end, Mark is in like the top 99.9 percentile of all brackets on ESPN. Like, I had to go double-check the math to make sure that I would even win if Houston won tonight. Like, you get 320 points for getting the champion, and I will still barely win. Barely. If Houston wins tonight. What does Mark know? What do we have to kick him out? Like, moving forward, do we have to say, dude, this is your only time you'll ever be allowed to participate in one of these things? I am flummoxed. Like, I've never seen anything like it.
He was like perfect after the.
It's crazy.
Round of 32.
It's nuts,
Almost.
man. It's nuts. But that's where the bracket contest comes down to tonight, and I know it would be devastating for a lot of people if I were to win. But you know,
all right, go Gators.
You don't even know
Go
Mark
Gators, I
Terrell,
guess.
so why would you want him to win? Like, come on, man.
Me?
No,
I
not
know
you.
Mark. I know
You
Mark.
do. Yeah, you're the one. But we'll see how that plays out tonight. It was a glorious night on Saturday night. My God, it'll never get old. Oh, blessing. I was worried that, like,
I don't understand.
after
I
Mike,
still don't understand
I was
what
really
happened.
worried after Mike Krzyzewski's retirement that it wouldn't be the same. Like, the joy that we would get from watching Duke lose as a country would, just because there was something about how his entitlement sort of became, like, he was the perfect reflection of everything that we felt about Duke and why as a country we hated them. But I guess John Shire in that way was the perfect choice because, like, we just see the face and we're like, yep, you're a weasel too. Like, you look like a weasel. The Duke entitlement has continued. It didn't go away with Mike Krzyzewski. Oh, man. Oh, God, that was wonderful. Oh, everything about it was just so great. Oh, glory be to all of you. And you got to give Kelvin Sampson a whole hell of a lot of credit, man. Like, between the end of the Purdue game and the end of this game, like, I don't want to take anything away from the players. Like, but Kelvin Sampson has been on one. And for my sake, because now I'm a huge Houston fan tonight, I'm actually going to be watching the game with a buddy of mine that's a Houston alum tonight.
Oh.
So I love the fact that I've got Houston. Like, we can be pals together. If the way that last weekend went, where they, like, didn't play quite as well against Purdue and had to survive it and then turned around and got better, you're like, you hope that can be the case. But Florida's so good in the second half. Like, it's nuts how good Florida is in the second half of games.
They got that one guy.
Which one?
Walter Clayton.
Yeah, that guy, yes. He's particularly good in the second half. There's no doubt
I
about
guess
that.
You're right. They have about 5 or 6.
Yeah, they do. They have more players than that. They are deep, and I don't know what it is about start of the second half, but, boy, they flip a switch, and they are, like, unbeatable in the second half. So it really comes down to, can Houston get Florida to play the game that they want, right? Like, Kelvin Sampson's talked openly about it. Like, we cannot play in the 80s. We can't really play into the high 70s. Like, this has got to be that we get you to play like we want to play. Everybody uses the word grinder. Like, that's the way that Houston can win.
They've been good at that, keeping teams
100%.
out of transition almost entirely. Like,
And that's what Florida does well, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting basketball matchup. If I were only betting this game, I'd like Florida, right? Like, I just think they're the better of the two teams. And I think that they are uniquely built to avoid being put into the trap. But I'm not waving the white flag and saying, like, well, it was a good run for me, but just go ahead and give the money to Mark yet. I do think that Houston has the ability to get teams to do things that are uncharacteristic. And to the point, they didn't even play particularly well on Saturday night. They just played the best when it mattered the most. That's all that ended up happening. So I think that they could absolutely have a scenario like last weekend where, like, for what it's worth, Tennessee and Florida were not terribly different teams during the course of most of the season. And they pounded Tennessee last Sunday. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't love my chances going in tonight, but I got a chance, and
Yeah,
that's
you do
all
have
I
a
can
chance.
ask for.
I mean,
I do have a chance.
You got a coin flip chance.
On the flip side, have you discussed with John
no,
Proctor
I
and, of course,
tried to hammer out the details just yet. But
Gwen's Chili Bowl? We got to know. Because I assume Gwen's going to be handling this for us, or did you not talk to Gwen about
I mean, I didn't explicitly talk about it, but
what are you
we
doing?
I know, she has the cheesesteak making repertoire. So
Okay. All right. This is
Milkshake,
what we do around here.
milkshake, cheesesteak.
Can you check with Gwen to see if she'd be willing to do this for us? Yeah. 3 weeks later. So Gwen's lined up. No, I haven't brought it up yet. You should play that clip again. It was really good. That's what we do.
Like that one?
Yeah, it was dynamite stuff. Dynamite. This sound is not existent, or whatever the hell it said. I don't
No,
remember.
it was like I don't know. Let's see if it works now.
No, I don't want the real clip. I don't want that.
So.
No, I don't want that. I wanted the other thing.
I can't.
We
I don't know
can't.
how to recreate that one.
We can't do
I'm like,
radio. We just don't have the
radio.
ability around here.
Oh,
We
there,
don't
sound
have the
finished.
ability to do it. Yes, John Proctor, the loser in our women's bracket contest. South Carolina didn't win, but they did get to the championship game. They proceeded to get blown the F out yesterday.
No, Dawn Staley was going through it.
The Orioles game was dog-ass, so I was like, hey, I'll flip over to that basketball game. That should be it.
Well, and then that's when you decided to flip over to the NCDA dodgeball.
No, I didn't do that either.
YouTube page.
Like it
Check
was
out
late.
the
There was a
championship.
moment late in the third quarter where UConn got it back to like single digits. No, sorry, where South Carolina got it back to single digits, and I was like, okay, maybe. That lasted for all of one Gino Auriemma timeout. He took one timeout, and then all of a sudden you looked up, and it was a 15-point game, and then you looked up again, and it was a 30-point game. Congratulations. Boy, those long-suffering fans at UConn, they had gone
8 years,
yeah,
9 years?
a couple of years since their last national championship. Look, Paige Beckers is unbelievable, but again, she wasn't even necessarily the story of their run to the title this year, as Sarah Strong was phenomenal. AZ Fudd was, unbelievable. That triumvirate became too much to overcome, and a South Carolina team that had kind of just gotten by in a few games on this run, like that we had seen their warts. Maryland nearly beat them in the Sweet 16. We could tell like this was imperfect in their run to the national championship game. But yeah, UConn wins the title, and tonight Florida and Houston play for the other title. Some news with Maryland over the weekend. They do start adding their first couple of players via the transfer portal. Pharrell Payne, as expected, from Texas A&M, does join the Maryland roster with Buzz Williams, and I've already forgotten the name of the other kid that came from Texas A&M.
Solomon Washington?
Is it Washington?
Was it not Washington?
Solomon something. King Solomon, right? That's what it is. I think that might be the name. Solomon. It was Solomon Washington. Look at you.
All
Good
right.
job.
Yeah.
Solomon Washington joins them. And then Miles Rice from Indiana, who has an inspiring story, overcame cancer, started his career at Washington State. Then Washington State, of course, got booted out of the Pac-12. They were like, we don't want you anymore. And so he left for Indiana, and then there's a coaching change in Indiana, so he ends up at Maryland. And I think the assumption is that he's their starting point guard moving forward, and replaces Jacoby Gillespie. Some weird reporting from Jeff Erman about Rodney Rice, like really weird. And he's now talking about it openly on Twitter. Apparently Rodney Rice wants Maryland to recruit him.
Okay.
And Buzz
Cool.
Williams has said, "No, I'm good."
Oh, really?
Very weird.
Well,
now that's the way it works. He's not Buzz Williams' guy by any stretch of the imagination. Buzz Williams may have his own feelings about him. Like, he certainly probably knows people at Virginia Tech and might have reached out and said, hey, what should we know? And I'm just speculating. I have no idea why Buzz Williams appears to have no interest in Rodney Rice, who apparently is batting his eyelashes at Maryland like Buzz Williams was batting his eyelashes at Maryland. But it has not been reciprocated. There appears to not be a chance of any of those Crab Five returning to Maryland. We already know Jacoby Gillespie went to Tennessee. Now it looks like Rodney Rice is also going to be elsewhere next year. Deshaun Harris-Smith, I think, is the biggest surprise. He ends up at Georgetown, which
good for him.
Good for him, but I think we all kind of assumed that Deshaun Harris-Smith needed to be at like a Virginia Tech or a VCU, really. Like, needed to take a Virginia Tech's probably still too high of a level. I think we all kind of thought that Deshaun Harris-Smith needed to jump to a mid-major in order to find himself he's going to give it the old college try in the Big East next season. So we will see how that works out for him. All right. I don't know if we mentioned last week the news about Tyler Tejada, which was kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler Tejada and Dylan Williamson both returning to Towson, which is wild, man. Good for Towson. We heard Tyler Tejada tell us when he joined us ahead of the CA tournament that money wasn't really his thing, and it was more about loyalty. And I think we all said, "Wow, that's great that you did that for 1 year, but now go ahead and get your money and enjoy your opportunity to prove yourself at the highest level."
It's just a special place, you know.
I guess. I guess. I mean, it's a major coup for Towson. It's huge to get Tyler Tejada back, CA Player of the Year, returning, despite the fact that I have no doubt that there was even more significant interest for him from other places. So huge news for Towson basketball last week. All right, today's show is brought to you by CountySports.Zone, which is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Everything you need to know as we're into spring sports season, you can find at CountySports.Zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Scores, schedules, news, polls, everything you need, find it at CountySports.Zone. Again, sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Let's continue to discuss the Orioles' sluggish start to the 2025 season. Joining us now, he covers the Birds for the Baltimore Banner. He's our friend Jon Meoli, and he's back with us here on GCR. John, it's Glenn. It's good to chat with you as always. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning, man.
Happy to do it. I feel like we have a good rhythm of when something a little strange is happening with the Orioles. We get to talk it out, and I feel like we've already arrived at that time.
I don't know. This is the really difficult part of this for me, John. Is it's easy to say, hey, teams have the best teams in baseball are going to have stretches where they go 4-6, or where they look lethargic for a week and a half, or they're inconsistent offensively. That's going to occur. But combined with them going 42-46 from June 21st on last year, I do think it's fair to ask if there's a bigger problem with this baseball team. And we all kind of felt the same way, that they needed to upgrade in the offseason and they didn't. And so, should we not be surprised by the fact that they seem a little imperfect to start the year?
It feels very samey, and I think that, I think that it's a challenging place to be in overall. And I wrote on the home opener day that this team is not going to be at its best for a while, and as long as they grind it out, that's fine. There's just a lot more downside, I think, that we're seeing now that doesn't include that. They've just played a lot of bad baseball games in the first 2 weeks of the season, and that's not something that you would expect, even from a team that doesn't have, it's a lineup out there every day, a team that, is going to have questions on the mound. I think you operate under the assumption that, this is a team that's actually, even if they're not, always great, they're not going to be bad. And they've been bad more nights than I think anybody's wanted to see so far. And that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. And it's the lifelessness, I think, that, is the difficult, because some of these things from a baseball standpoint, we can have the conversation about the pitching. And yes, maybe, as you point out, Grayson Rodriguez getting back and Kyle Bradish after that can help that. And maybe we've seen positive signs that one or two of these guys could prove to be helpful. But the offensive lifelessness is the part that, really is eerily reminiscent of what we saw in the second half of last year. And I don't have a baseball – I don't think it's the players. These are good baseball players. They are capable of doing great things. I don't know how to define why it is that they just appear in so many games to we don't have it tonight. Nah, we don't have it. And they just sort of seem to go through the motions. That's the part that I can't make heads or tails of.
Yeah, and there are mathematically a bunch of ways to average 5 runs a game. One is to score 5 runs in every game, and one is to score 9 runs in one game and 1 run the next game. And one of those is much more uncomfortable than the other. It kind of ends up in the same place. But there was, I clocked it at some point last year. They went 3+ months without trailing entering the late innings of a game and reversing that. That was a hallmark of this team as they were getting good in the end of 2022 and all through 2023 and even the first half of 2024, where you felt like they were going to score. You felt like they were going to have some kind of comeback because the at-bats were good and the offense was good. And I don't know if that belief is lost, but like internally, but externally, it doesn't feel like that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, when you're, it's a Sunday afternoon and you're doing stuff with the family and you see that it's 4-0 early.
Yeah, you're more inclined to just say,
now with the team, I'm just kind of like, all right,
they got other things to do.
They might not win this game.
Yeah,
they're probably not going to win this game, and that's not how you regard a good team. And that's been something that I've kind of been. I thought that it was going to be a little different. I think that there's still a chance for it to be, but this has not been a good start. If that was your thesis going into it.
So how does that change, John? Like that, I think that's the difficult part that I'm trying to talk to. Like I feel like I almost need to discuss this with like a mental health specialist. Like, does that just change because a couple of results change it? Like, does that just change because I know how baseball fans are. They say that has to change because you have to fire somebody. Like that's just the way that fans operate. Like, how does it change that a team that's had this prolonged period of seemingly being out of it and bad body language when they get down, what ends that? What turns that around?
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is that it just needs, you need to break that cycle by doing it. I think there's, and Brandon Hyde said it yesterday himself. They signed all these right-handed hitters to face lefties. You have to let them do it. As they were doing that, I pointed out often that this team's strength was its flexibility when it was going well, and the ability to move guys in and out was something they did really well. And then when they lost that, things kind of deteriorated. But it feels like, I think I don't know that there's been any repeat lineups at all this year for a variety of reasons. You didn't have your starting shortstop for the first week. That matters. But I think they just need to find a groove, and it's really hard to do that when guys are in and out. Even if the matchups say that it's the case, I think you need to do what this team has done really well in the past. Colton Cowser this time last year was not a regular, but he kept hitting and he kept getting chances to be in the lineup because of that. And if guys are in that position now and they're in and out, kind of irrespective of how they're performing, that's not how you right the ship. That's not how things get better. That's just kind of how you stay where you are. And so I think they need to start being a little more convicted in the good players that they have and say, maybe we don't need to worry about this left-right stuff. Let's worry about having 7, 8 good players in there. And that's not something that they've done often. I think the people will get a chance to earn that, but there's an opportunity cost to having a roster built the way that they do, and it's that you have to use it the way that you intend to, or else you kind of wasted the whole offseason on this plan. So they're in a weird spot now where they kind of have to do it, but it doesn't seem like it's really benefiting them at all.
Yeah, it's you won't believe it, but that's a hot topic of conversation, Sean.
Yeah.
What do you make of I heard Brandon Hyde's comments after the game yesterday about the lineup and being asked about the fact that Bubic had reverse splits and him saying, well, look, we went out and we signed, to your point, we signed these guys and so they've got to play. And what I heard is the thing that constantly comes up for me when people complain about decisions or lineup construction, which is this thought that Brandon Hyde is just freewheeling and doing all of this stuff and this is what I think we should do, and is crazy to me. It's bonkers when I have these conversations with listeners or folks on social media, because I think what you heard from him yesterday was him telling you exactly what's going on, which is the organization has a philosophy, and this is just how baseball works now in almost every organization. The organization has a philosophy, has a plan, and my job as manager is to execute it on the field. And they went out and invested in these right-handed bats, and so I've got to put these right-handed bats in the lineup when we face a lefty. I don't really have a choice here. And that's my problem with directing the ire towards the manager, is it feels like there's a bigger these things are set from the top and the people that are running the organization, and I don't I don't know that it changes if there's just a different manager. My guess is the next manager would have the same philosophy because you have to share the belief system of the people that are running the organization.
Yeah. I mean, and I separate those two things out. All the books that were written about the Astros, one of the through lines is that, like, at some point, Bo Porter stopped paying attention and being on the same page as the front office, and that's why Bo Porter was a Masson analyst most recently. Like, that's what happens if you're not in line with the front office in these organizations. You're not going to have the opportunity to be out of step with them for long, because they're just going to, they'll just find somebody who is. And Brandon Hyde's been here a long time because he's been aligned with the front office. I think there's going to be some more flexibility. I assume there would be if we're talking about June, July, and there's a track record of, like, yes, we got all these righties, but this is a reverse split guy. So-and-so has been hitting lefties all year. Let's make that adjustment. Like, we can have that conversation at 2 o'clock as they're making out the lineup. I think you can do that early in the season, but, like, we are still very, very early days. If you're starting to make reasons not to put these guys in the lineup in the first and second week of April, then that's, even if it's warranted, that says something, and you probably, need to think about it. But I think they're kind of in the, like, let's do what we plan to do mode right now. I would also say, if we're talking about the manager's role in this, Brandon Hyde has been the manager of this team for a long time through a lot of different eras. And I remember, specifically when the types of things that were happening, that have happened, throwing to the wrong bases and, like, guys not sliding into home plate, which has happened a couple of times, like, with mixed results, like that type of stuff. Like, we used to joke about how, like, during the pandemic when he was wearing a mask, it was like almost a relief because you couldn't see the expression on his face. We remember those 2019 looks that Brandon Hyde would give the 2019 Orioles, and they deserved every single one of them. Like, I am taking note of all these times when this team is doing things like that feel like they are in his purview of, like, let's not do that stuff, more than I am the lineup part of it, because that cake is kind of baked. We know how this team's going to operate lineup-wise.
That is interesting. Or maybe, like, say, diving headfirst in the first base, despite the fact that we all know that you don't do that anymore. Like, God, how does that happen again? That's a conversation for another day. John, anything as far as, I know that you spend a lot of time focusing on minor leagues and what's going on down there as those seasons get underway. What to you are maybe the most interesting storylines for the Orioles as far as the minor league season starting is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, this broadly feels like a recovery season on the farm. There's a lot of people who have graduated who are helping the big league team right now. There are a lot of people, players who are on the big league team because good prospects were traded in the last year plus to make that happen. So I think it's going to be I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for guys to pop up and say, like, all right, if we're saying who's the next wave, like, the guys will tell us, the players will tell us. I think I'm interested to see how quickly they move with some of the pitchers they really like. That's not typically an area where they move super fast with guys, but if they have the stuff, if they have, the ability to get major league hitters out, where does the regulator kind of come off and say, look, 97 with 2 swing and miss secondary pitches is 97 with 2 swing and miss secondary pitches. Like, yes, it would be nice to build him up, but we need that in the big leagues. And I think there's going to be a point with some of these minor league arms that you get to that and you say, let's see what it is. And I think this team's going to need that. This team's going to truly need that. And I'm fascinated to see how they handle it.
John, what is everybody going to be finding from you at the Banner this year?
Oh, gosh. Well, we have our subscriber-only newsletter every Tuesday afternoon, Inside the Dugout. That's approaching its first birthday, which is pretty wild to say. That's usually a pretty fun endeavor. Our team of Andy Koska and Danielle Allentuck, Paul Mancano, Kyle Goon, myself are going to be writing a lot about the Orioles. I'm not sure specifically what from myself yet, but I know that I will be writing often and hopefully well. How's that?
I know that's true for the record. I know you're right about that. At Jon Meoli, well, so are you in that shift from Twitter to Blue Sky at the moment?
Yeah, I'm yes, and I follow on both places and now just post neither, and I enjoy that.
Oh boy, that is a good life. Oh,
I don't enjoy seeing things on Twitter still. That's still largely a bad time. But but just not posting has been. Once you stop, it's hard to start again. So I'm just not starting.
Oh, I'm so jealous of that. God, I want that life somehow. Please, someone give me a job that will allow me to that be the case. Oh, that would make me so happy. Jon Meoli, always appreciate you, brother. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
All right, thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Thanks, man. Jon Meoli with us here on GCR. All right, it is a Monday, so every Monday we do like to reflect on the week that was for Orioles baseball. It is time for us to. It wasn't ready. Of course, it wasn't ready. Why would it? It's Monday. Who could have known?
3 up.
And 3 down.
So bad. Got like a week left to get the print issue of Press Box. Go get it before it's gone and makes way for another baseball-themed issue that will be hitting newsstands. Go get it at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com.
That's one of my favorite ones for the record.
Yeah, of course it is. Start with 3 down.
The Press Box issue.
Oh, yeah, sure. 3 down is where we begin. This was actually, it's weird, right? Because there weren't really regular guys that were terribly dreadful for the course of the week, even though the team wasn't very good. It was more kind of very specific things. So I'll start. My number 3 is where I put Jorge Mateo, who probably doesn't deserve the smoke, but, like, he hasn't done anything. Like, he hasn't done anything. And then obviously was put into an untenable. We can do the clerks thing. We can do the I'm not even supposed to be here today. Which of course now Griffin's going to tell me we have the audio for that too, but he's also
not even supposed to be here today.
One day, like the day before we end Glenn Clark Radio will be the day that we put it all together.
How am I supposed to do it quicker than that?
You just got to know that it's coming. Like when you hear me say something, you know the Jorge. You got it. This is an intuition thing. Jorge Mateo, who doesn't normally play center field, played center field, right?
Yeah.
So what does that remind you of?
My mind doesn't go to that.
That's the problem, right?
Well,
like it's got to be intuitive.
Clerks, I didn't grow up on Clerks.
That doesn't matter. You isolated the sound clip.
Yeah.
You know it exists.
And then I dumped it.
That's the problem. Like, why do we have it if we're not going to ever go back to it?
Told me to do that one time.
The perfect example of when to use it would be a situation where you have someone playing center field who's not a center fielder. They're
supposed to be here today.
I give up with this stupid show. I give up. It's over, Chief. It's over, Jack. Oh, man. You guys, radio used to be awesome. There was a time where, like,
it is still.
It's not. It's just not.
It is.
It's not. It's dead.
Well, why? What do you feel like?
No. It doesn't work for me.
It's tired of losing, man.
I don't even remember who this was.
I've been here for 7 years, and all I've done is lost.
I've been here longer than 7 years, and you know what it does? Now you're just going to start firing clips for the sake of firing clips. Now Griffin wants to overcompensate to try to make up for the misses. Yikes.
Hit them all.
Look, man, I don't know what to do about that yesterday, but it's still a ball that you got to catch. Like, I can't shake that. And he hasn't done anything offensively, so yeah, I just default to 3 for Jorge Mateo.
Yeah, because I went back and forth where he was going to land on my list as well. I was like, is he number 1, or am I just really, really angry about
and it's
yesterday?
recency bias too. That's part of the problem.
So yeah, ultimately, I land on him as number 3 as well with Jorge Mateo, and it's just I know it's, as you said, it can't be easy. You're getting 1 to 2 starts a week, but that's your role. You have to be ready for it. He's 0 for 11 to start the year. Like it's,
and maybe at some point, like you try to bunt your way on. Maybe you try to like be Jorge Mateo.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I mean that is a ball that
got to catch. The other one could have caught, but you're not even really furious about the other one. Like the other one's a tough play. The first one, have to have it. Number 2, it's tough because he's only played 3 games, but Gunnar Henderson was awful. Like, you can say on Friday he hit some balls hard, and he did. And then, ironically, his worst day was Saturday, but
the whole team hit, yeah.
Yeah, everybody else hit, so it kind of made up for the fact that Gunnar Henderson didn't. But, yeah, and then you throw in the error. Like, I can't I don't know what to do with that. And the expectation level for Gunnar Henderson is higher. Like, you want to take him off the list because he only played 3 games and, like, he's working his way back, but it's Gunnar Henderson that you're talking about. He's supposed to be the reason why things are different. If he wasn't ready, then maybe say he's not ready. I don't know.
We all saw the clips from Norfolk. Like, it looked like he was
Yeah.
ready.
And then he struck out 4 times on Saturday when everybody else was mashing. Gunnar Henderson's my number 2.
Yeah, he's my number 2 as well. Like, and there were other guys. Like, I considered Adley this week, but it didn't seem like he did it.
Yeah,
poorly.
Right. He didn't have a great week, but he wasn't awful.
Yeah.
Like,
and like Cianel Perez, like we already talked about, but I ended up landing on Gunnar.
Cianel Perez is my number 1.
He's your number 1. Wow,
Yeah.
all right. I got a different number 1 than you then.
He's just been the worst player on the team after the first 10 days of the season.
Has he been? I mean, you're giving Charlie Morton credit for getting through 5 innings.
I'm not giving him credit.
Charlie Morton's my number 1.
That's fine. Make Charlie Morton your number 1. Ironically, like, this is where Charlie Morton probably was better this week than Cianel Perez was. Cianel
Perez was. I mean, a lot of the damage was what, a 3-run
and
single.
That's if you want to say that, like, hey, they weren't winning the game anyway, so it's hard. You can say whatever you want to say. This is just who's been the worst player on the team so far to start the season. It's been Cianel Perez, man. It's been woof. But I'm not trying to defend Charlie Morton. I'm not. I do not feel like he was great. I also there you could probably play the clerk clip again here. Like, Charlie Morton shouldn't be the number 2 starter on anybody's team. It's bonkers that's something that you have to do. But he is, and he's not good enough. I have no problem with Charlie Morton being on the list. I'm not really even going to fight about it. All right, as far as 3-up are concerned, my number 3, I thought there were really only 3 choices for this week, and it was just a question of what order you would put them in. There were 3 guys that really hit the ball well, and only Zach Eflin was even decent pitching-wise, so, like.
No, you had no consideration for Sagano?
No.
I know you were.
Telling you, the 6th inning ruined that. You can't. Everything's set up. You cannot have the team do. They went and got you the runs. If it's still 2-0, right, at that point, and Sagano goes out and finds himself in a little bit of trouble and has to be pulled, I probably have a different feeling about it. They did their part. Now, all you got to do is help the team by pitching a 6th inning. That's it. That's all that anyone's asking. Gave up a home run to Bobby Witt. That's fine. Nobody's going to be angry about that. Shake it off and go get him out of the 6th inning so that you can not tax your bullpen on a day where the team scored a bunch of runs. I can't let him off the hook. No consideration for Sagano there. Like, if you're a major league pitcher and your team spots you a huge lead like that, you got to be able to turn around and get him out of the 6th inning. Oh, that was killer for me, man. Like, that really hurt me. I just felt so good in that moment. Like, this is great, not just for the offense, but it's great for Sagano, because now Sagano can go get the confidence of getting a quality start and build off of that. Hell, maybe if he breezes through the 6th, he could go back out there and get into the 7th. Really frustrating. Number 3, Ryan Mountcastle, hit .426 for the week. Obviously, you'd like to see more power from Ryan Mountcastle, but he's been one of the few consistent hitters. Ryan Mountcastle's number 3.
I ended up sticking with Sagano as my number 3.
There is no justification.
I mean, there is. I mean, it's the pitching staff sucks. Like, it's and
you're moving the goalposts.
You're right. I admit I'm moving the goalposts, and I think they should be at this point because he had the best start of the week. Like and ended up. He was the only starter or I guess, he was the only starter that got the win. That got a win this week.
I don't give a rat's. Zach Eflin was definitely better than Sagano.
I know you hate
It's not about I hate wins. It's that we know wins are irrelevant.
I know. And
we know that. It's the most irrelevant. My God, remember who got the win on?
I was extremely down on Sagano.
The home
what
opener
happened in Toronto, like the cramping aside, like it was he looked very, very strong through the first 5 innings, and maybe you're supposed to give him a longer leash than to try and get out of it through the 6th inning. Like maybe that's the lesson.
Or maybe he should just go get the job done when his team spots him a bunch of runs.
There's one guy on this team that can go 6 innings. So I mean, like,
that's not okay. You don't get to suddenly say that now you can't ask for anybody else to. And again, if it was a 2-0 game, it's a different conversation. 100%. I mean this strongly. If Sagano was still in a 2-0 game and he got into trouble, gives up a home run to Bobby Witt, you can understand and say, hey, man, you battled today. but we got to go get you out of there because it's 2-1 game, and we can't allow this to go anywhere else. But that's not what happened. He was gifted everything he could possibly ask for. It was a blowout. Now just go back out there and go one more inning. That's it. Just one more. So infuriating. He wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I'm certainly not suggesting that he should be on the other list. No chance. But God, and it's so much worse because of all of the other things that are going on with this pitching staff. You just need one guy to come through with a solid start, a quality start. We have a phrase for it. I'm not sure if you've heard. And they give him all of these runs. He's up 6-0.
And then he let up one run. I mean, like, it's...
He let up one run, and then he put the next... He was in hell.
I get it.
He was in hell. They had to get him because he was in hell in the 6th inning. If it was just the home run, again, it's still a different conversation. Then I would be all over Brandon Hyde for going and getting him in a 6-1 game if it was just the home run, right? Like, the home run's fine. By all means, give up a home run. Give up another one. It's that he put them in jeopardy of pissing away a 6-1 lead. All they needed was a 6th inning. That's it. All right, number 2. Again, just deciding between the two. Number 2 is where I put Jackson Holliday. The only thing that was odd from Jackson Holliday is he only got on base when he hit, but he hit. Like he sure as hell hit. Hit 400 for the week, OPS 1,000. Jackson Holliday's number 2.
Yep, he was my number 2 as well. And I mean, he looked really good on Saturday. Like that.
Yeah, he looked great on Saturday.
And it made it all that much.
Part of that, his hair flying out while he's running the bases on the triple. We all like it's no different than Ryan Mountcastle's triple, right? Like, but yet for some reason it just feels different because he's running around like a bat out of hell.
Yeah, and it makes it, I mean, the top 2 guys on my list makes it that much harder when you see Sunday's lineup and neither of them are in it.
Yeah, Cedric Mullins, of course, is number 1. He's been the best player on this team to start the season, and, there's a reason why we're all pissed. Like, you just want him back out there. And I get it. It's one game in a 162-game baseball season, and we can have this, that we all, it's that tweet that, like, the football team 1 game in 17 games, and that's a baseball team one game in 162. Oh, what the hell? Like, Cedric Mullins is great. That's all I can say. He's been great, and so he was an easy choice for number 1 this week. We'll get 3 up and 3 down posted at glennclarkradio.com here momentarily. When we come back in, we'll get Jeremy Conn's thoughts on how concerned we should be in what we've seen so far. That's on the way. So continue on a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an easy pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at driveeasymd.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious spilling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
From Joe. Joe says, Glenn, did you actually think that Houston was going to win the national championship before the tournament began, or is that just sort of how your bracket fell out? I thought they had a chance. Truth be told, you want to know how I pick brackets just for the fun of it? I purposely try to pick a national champion that I think fewer people will pick. I do. The reason I do that is because I think it's really, if you're going to win a bracket contest, I think it's really hard to win more games in the first couple of rounds. Like, a lot of people pick Florida.
Unless you're Mark Terrell.
Yeah, correct. A lot of people pick Florida. Like, John in Little Rock has had a great bracket, but he can't win. Because somebody else who also picked Florida to win the title got more early round games right than he did. So I do. That's part of every year I try to pick, not a team that I think is, I'm not going to go crazy, but a team that I just think not quite as many people will pick to win their national championship. If Houston loses tonight, I'm not going to be in the top 10. But yes, that is part of the philosophy, is to purposely not. I thought this year, Florida, Duke were going to be the teams that overwhelmingly were the most popular national championship picks. And so I avoided the two of them. First of all, I always avoid Duke because then I have no joy. Even if I have no joy over it whatsoever. But yes, I purposely avoided Florida, who I have in the national championship game. I purposely picked Houston because I just thought lesser people would take Houston. But that's not going to work out for me if Florida wins tonight, and I think they very well could. We'll get this man's thoughts on that, but also I want to talk to him about the Orioles as well, and I'm sure he hasn't watched the White Lotus finale yet, so it's going to hurt me. Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, ConcreteLocks.com with 2 N's. He's our buddy Jeremy Conn. What's going on, pal? How are you?
I'm good, and you would be correct about the White Lotus finale that I have not watched it. I'm waiting for my wife to get home as we speak so we can watch it.
Even the finale.
It's one of those, and I'm sure you have it too. Like, you have shows you watch with your wife and
Mostly MasterChef. That's literally
okay.
like the only.
Well, so no, my wife, it's interesting because, like, I could sit here and tell my wife that there's this great show on TV.
Yeah.
And then we'll wait 3 months, and then somebody at work will go, "Hey, have you seen this show? It's so awesome." And it's the show I told her about, and then we start watching it.
No, it's really frustrating, right?
I really thought about, and I don't know how you feel about this, about watching it without her when she gets home, pretending like I.
That's what I would have preferred you have done just for the sake of this conversation. That would have made my life better so that I could talk about it with you.
If I'm being brutally honest, I made a business decision last night to go to bed early, so I'd get up early, maybe take a nap and be ready. I'm going to try to stay up and watch the championship and the Oriole game.
Ooh.
I already know how that's going to go. We're going to hit halftime, and I'm going to pass
you're
out,
done.
So
There's just no way that's going to work out. That's a bad idea. I had that happen.
Did you enjoy it though?
It's a great question.
Because I heard some people say they didn't like it.
A lot of people have said they didn't like it. This is what I would remind you about White Lotus. The characters become so unlikable that the truth is you kind of want all of them to die, right? Like, that's the way it works, is that there's very few characters in a season of White Lotus. If you guys have watched the other, I know this season got more, like, hype. I think the first season of this season are the two that got the most, like, national attention. If you've watched all the seasons of White Lotus, you know that purposely the characters are all at least somewhat unlikable. Some of them have some redeeming qualities.
They're all flawed. Is that fair?
Some of them have some redeeming qualities, and you like them more. But the idea, the concept is that no one is so likable that, like, there's obvious faces and heels, because you don't ever want it to be a situation where, like, well, they better kill off these people but leave these people alone, right? Like, you want all of them to sort of be, like, fairly even when you get to the end.
I have a serious question, though. If
Yeah.
your brother gives you a hand job, which one of you
Right.
becomes more unlikable?
That, to me, is the only, like, of all of the things about this season, it's the thing that I alluded to last week that I couldn't talk about with you. That really put a damper on this season to me. Like,
really?
Dancing,
Kind of put it over the top for me.
You see,
I was like, hey, is anybody else related?
dancing around it to me was fine, right? Like, the weirdness of it, dude, is there something bizarre about this? Like, that all was fine.
So,
Going
can I ask
to
this,
it,
though? Like, does it play into this last season or this
there's
last episode?
there's
though?
one more thing that's going to be you're going to hear said about it in this final episode that's just going to make you throw up in your mouth. Like, it's
I love it already.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the disappointment that people feel is that, like, they just realized they kind of wanted more people to die. Like, that's I think what leads to the disappointment of a finale is that, like, if it's not the people that you wanted to die that die, or then you're just always going to be disappointed by it. I think it wrapped up about the same as the other seasons of White Lotus, and and what makes the White Lotus really good is, like, unlike other shows where, like, the last season of The Bear, I hated it because nothing happened, right? Like, it just they just kept doing the same restaurant. We're in a restaurant and it's fancy and there's tension and they didn't do anything. They built it around like, this review is and we never got to the review. We still don't know what the review was, which is hilarious that any one review in 2025 could be the thing that dooms a I mean, like, it's an absurd premise to begin with, but we never even got there. And, like, you could say, people say that about the White Lotus, is that, like, it's just they're spinning their wheels, but that's what we like about the White Lotus. It works in this concept because we know we're getting to it in the finale and we're not going to get it before then. We accept that when we choose to watch the show. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, how about with the, like, White Lotus, I've loved every season. And even if, like, this one doesn't finish well, I'm still going to tell you, I liked it. I enjoyed the ride.
It was a well-made show. It's a really well-made show. The overacting is why you watch the White Lotus. You watch the White Lotus for the overacting. And, you know, like, no matter what Parker Posey did, I'll never forget Parker Posey in this season of the White Lotus. She was
Have you seen all of them imitate her yet?
Yeah, it's really
great.
good. Dude, I get all that
The
stuff
daughter's the best.
fed into my like, that's my algorithm is, like, nothing but White Lotus stuff that gets fed to me. And I thought that
Weird. Mine's incest porn now.
That's
so
weird. It's weird how that worked
yeah,
out.
I don't know how that happened.
You're figuring out what you're into is brothers giving each other hand jobs. That's what you're doing.
Brothers love, man.
I thought the Cougars.
And I think maybe we switch it up from Tommy Boy. Brothers don't hug.
They gotta
brothers give hand jobs.
Well, isn't that what Earl Thomas said?
I don't think I can say this on my show.
I
Can I?
don't think you can.
Can I get in trouble on your show?
No, nobody gets in trouble on this show. On this show? Stop. Oh man.
Man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've got feelings about it, but I'm still glad that I went for the ride. Yeah. Did I think it was like a classic season finale? No, but that's not what the White Lotus does. Like, that's not it.
I mean, I think it's very thought provoking each season, which is what I like.
Yeah, there's a human experiment aspect of it, right? I thought
it's interaction between, like, I liked all the storylines this year. Like, you have the crazy family, you've got the three girls that were friends,
Cougars,
and apparently there's something wrong between them.
Right.
You've got Walter Goggins, who
is just
and his big tooth girlfriend, which the more I watch her, the more attracted I get to her.
Correct.
And I'm like, she's got some choppers on her, man.
Yep.
But anyway, but I wanted to ask you before you got to the Orioles, the Walter Goggins thing, where there was this big push on social media that said guys with receding hairlines now are attractive because of what Walter Goggins. I'm like, no, he's attractive to women because he's cool and because he has some charisma, you know?
Yes, 100%.
I watched the video of him singing lip syncing Karma Police yesterday, and like, I'm going, this guy he gets it. He's freaking cool.
And he's just good at everything. He's so good at what he does that's, my God, the world needs more Walton Goggins. Like, the idea that this is the final season of Gemstones is really problematic for me because I need more Walton Goggins vehicles immediately. And frankly, if they don't do a Baby Billy spinoff, I'm going to be infuriated. Infuriated.
I just saw a clip of him where he was yelling at, I guess it's her nanny. I haven't watched this season.
Yeah. Oh.
And he's like, get over here and watch. Take these damn kids.
God,
he plays everything so well, man. And if you tell me Goggins is in something, I'm watching.
The Baby Billy is doing a bit. I don't want to give too much away to you, but they're doing a bit with him now where he's a screenwriter and he's working on a oh damn it, I want to tell you, but I don't. You
can tell me. It doesn't matter with that show. It's like comedy, so there'll be funny parts in it.
He's written a young adult series called Teen Jesus, but he had the brilliant idea of changing it to Teenjus. And it's just
I love that.
So good.
It's like he can do no wrong with me, man. Going all the way back to anything that he's been in. I mean, when he plays the bad guy, when he plays the off-putting character.
I mean, he was the best part of Vice Principals by far. Oh God.
Yeah.
I love Walton Goggins. All right.
Even the show Invincible that you
I haven't watched it.
He voices one of the guys.
I know, and somebody else pushed it to me last week. Somebody else was giving it a big push. I was getting texts about it. I need to watch Invincible. Yeah. All right, let's let me cover the championship game. Then I want to spend a couple of minutes on the Orioles.
Cool. You got me for as long as you need me.
I've got a fair amount of money riding on Houston tonight. I don't love my chances. I do think that Florida has proven throughout the tournament they're the best team. But at this point, it's hard for me to doubt Houston's ability to get any good team to play the way that they want them to play. Getting them in a grinder, I think they've got a shot. I think that Florida deserves to be the favorite. I think Florida's going to win. I think Florida's going to cover. But I can't argue with Kelvin Sampson at this point. My God.
Well, I think the cover, they just have to win by a basket, right? So now it's 1.5.
Oh, it got the one. I thought it was like 3. All right. Maybe I just saw one number somewhere. Okay.
No, but so just full disclosure, I'm on Houston tonight.
Wow.
I like them.
I like that.
I'll give you my reasoning in a second. But my favorite play is the under. And then what I said on the show, and I know this isn't it's not set in stone and 100%, but if I'm going to bet Houston or I'm going to bet the under, I'm going to parlay them together. In the same way with Florida, I'm going to bet the over. Not that Florida can't win a low-scoring game, but I think if it is low-scoring, that means they absolutely played the way Houston wanted them to, so I'm going to take Houston to win. So I think you're in a good spot, though. With basically a pick 'em game and everyone's picking Florida, you know how that leads me. It's just going to lead me the other way most times.
I am so impressed by Kelvin Sampson, man. Between the Purdue game and what happened on Saturday night, and maybe this will lead into the conversation we're going to have about the Orioles, but this group is so bought in and is so sold out for that dude and what he's preaching. I even beyond the fact that it would be good for me monetarily, I really like in an era where we just believe that the old values of college basketball are dead. It would be really special to me to see this Houston team win because coaching made a difference and a group of guys buying into a coach ended up being the story.
Yeah, Kelvin Sampson was paying players before it was cool to pay
Correct.
players.
That's a fact. That's also a thing.
It is, again, I like beating him up over that, and I've heard Bruce, 3 out of the 4 guys that could have gotten into or at least got to the championship, you look at their programs and people have questioned it. I don't know that Duke is one that I've necessarily questioned, but Auburn and Bruce Pearl, wherever he's been, you could question some of his recruiting strategies and things that he's done. But all that being said, you're absolutely right about it.
What's really funny is bringing that up. I'm at the place where I was with steroids where I just assumed they were all doing it. I have no negativity towards any of these coaches at this point. I remember once upon a time, Gary Williams hated Jim Calhoun, so I felt like I had, by proxy, had to hate Jim Calhoun, right? Well, if Gary Williams hates him, then I got to hate him too. And I'm not trying to tell you that,
your ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend, right?
Yeah,
you really don't have a reason except for he's with her.
That's just the way it works, right? Go F yourself. I have changed my mind on all these guys. Everybody was doing this. Everyone was doing something. There was no doubt in my mind that you think I'm disparaging the great Mike Krzyzewski when I say this? Mike Krzyzewski didn't watch what every other program was doing and say, but there's no way. If that means that we're no good anymore, then I would rather be virtuous than be good, right? I don't believe that for a second. Not for a split
I think what they
second.
did is turn the blind eye, right?
Correct.
It's not hey, I'm not getting my hands dirty, but if you do,
yes, I think some coaches were more involved with the either the strippers on the blow or the, hey, make sure that this guy gets his payment. But I think they were all – I have no animosity towards Kelvin Sampson, Bruce Pearl, John Cal, any of these guys. None of them anymore, because I think they were all doing the same stuff.
Yeah. And again, like going back to what you said about Houston, I mean, I think Florida is very likable. It is a contrast of styles. And if Houston can slow down Florida, and I think they can, I think that's what makes this interesting. The other thing I was going to say to you is, like, how much do you, if Florida wins, if Houston wins, do you know what you win?
It's like $650. It's not, life-changing. But
no, I'm just saying it's a very easy hedge, though, for you.
Oh, to bet, bet Florida,
Put $150 or $200 on Florida, and then either way, you're coming home with something.
Yeah,
It's an option.
Yeah. That's the smart thing to do. This is the gambler and Jeremy Conn speaking right now.
Well, I'm just saying, like, when you, like, people always ask me, should I cash this out? Should I cash it out? And I'm almost always team no cash.
Right.
But, like, I mean, like, I don't make any. No, I mean, like, no cash out for me, because what I try to do is, if I had a big parlay and had one leg left, then I'm just going to bet the opposite side and hedge my bet, so I'm winning something. Not to where it's like ridiculous where you're giving up half your money or whatever, but realizing what your initial bet was. If it was $20 and it's going to turn into $300, then I'm probably going to put $100 on the other team and hope that I come away with $300 or I come away with $100.
I completely get it. All right, real quick before we get to the Orioles, we haven't talked since the hiring of Buzz Williams. We did talk hypothetically about him last week.
Yeah.
What's your reaction?
I mean, I love Buzz. I've always liked him at every location he's been at. I think he's one of those coaches that if you had a kid, you'd want him to go play for Buzz. That type of guy, and all the things he said. I do think he's a very genuine guy too. So I like the hire. I know there's some people that aren't big on the analytics and feel like it's a lazy hire and all this other stuff, but the thing I tell them is he's won everywhere he's went, and I feel like he can win here. And I honestly, I feel like he's done a fairly good job so far of trying to put something of substance out there next year for the Terps, although I'm not expecting much, but he's been hitting that transfer portal, and it sounds like he's got 3 or 4 decent players to come in.
I've got really conflicting thoughts. I don't want to spend 20 minutes on this. I hear what you're saying about I think he seems like a decent enough fella. I also think that he's kind of openly told you the truth, which is that he doesn't really think that he can win championships, and that's the reason why he gets out. And I don't know, I haven't heard from anybody at Texas A&M that said, boy, he was telling us, he told us weeks ago, this is the way it works, I'm going to leave. But everybody that's talked about him has said he's got the same thought, which is it's really hard to sustain success, so I just try to get out and get to my next job. And I don't know why that would be any different at Maryland, right? It's hard for me to say, this is just such a great job. Kevin Willard would probably suggest otherwise, that, once you get to Maryland, you change everything about your philosophy. He's won, but he's won, right? We talk a lot about his resume, but that's because most of that stems from over a decade ago when he was at Marquette, and maybe. But
all the coaches we've had have only one of them's won.
Right,
so.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm in this weird place where I don't hate it. I don't think he's going to embarrass himself or fall flat on his face, but if the hope was that Maryland was going to get back to being a national championship contender, I just don't know what it is that we've seen in Buzz Williams that would say, he's so dynamic that a program that has warts, he can raise that type of program.
You want to know why his teams are always good? It's because all of his teams play defense.
Yeah, that part is true.
Sometimes playing defense is good enough to keep you in that top 25, that top 40, and staying there as long as you play it well. Because it's the one thing you can always bring to the table. You can play hard, and I think his players play hard for him. I don't know that he's going to get the best players, but he's going to get players that fit his system. And seeing how the transfer portal's already worked, and not just with Texas A&M guys, there are a couple of guys that really wanted to play for him. So I don't know. I guess it depends on some Maryland fans have visions of grandeur that this team's going to be one that wins multiple, or this university is going to win multiple championships. I think a lot of things would have to change for that to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't know that Maryland is the place that every Maryland fan thinks it is.
No,
I
don't think it is, and that's to me. I think you needed to go for the younger, dynamic. This could be a disaster, But it could also be we found the guy. Like I think you needed to have
You
a
wanted
higher.
Bill Murray's kid? Is that what you wanted?
He was very high on my list. There's no question about that,
Yeah.
right? Like he was
I know
extraordinary.
a lot of people wanted him.
Extraordinary high on my list, just because I think winning at Maryland has now been proven. The coach has to raise the program. The program doesn't raise the coach, and so someone who appears to have I think Buzz Williams is a very safe floor, but his ceiling is not very high either. I think this required someone. That had far more volatility between.
Did you have
ceiling
enough
and floor.
time to do all that though? Honestly,
Yeah, that's the argument that a lot of people are
the-
making, right? That
Yeah.
I guess what I would say is that you at least had another day, and you kind of knew this was coming. Like that's the part in all this. Like if you're putting all of your eggs over the last 2 weeks in the we're gonna talk Kevin Willard out of it basket, then it smells like what you're saying is we're utterly incompetent. Like, and then none of these it doesn't matter who your hire was going to be because these people are far too incompetent for it to work. That's the only issue I have when people say, like, well, you only had 2 days to make the hire. Like, no, the public knew there was a problem 2 weeks ago. So if you weren't saying to someone, hey, we need to start working on this now. And by the way, that was when Buzz Williams started batting his eye at you. Like, he knew.
I mean, do you think there's any chance, though, that, like, with all the things that went on with Willard, like, they kind of believed him that there was a chance he was going to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible, but I think it'd be reckless for for something that there's this much money around for there not to be someone saying, hey, we need to be spending more time on what our options are. We need to be diving in on who would be out there. There's a search committee. Buzz Williams was trying to get out of Texas A&M, as I found out. Like, he wanted the Indiana job. Indiana didn't want him. He wanted the West Virginia the Xavier job. Xavier didn't want him. And he just wanted another job. Like, he just wanted to get out of Texas A&M because that's what he does. He coaches somewhere for 6 years and then says, it's time for me to get something else. If Kevin Plank ultimately was going to tell you, you got to hire Buzz Williams, then it kind of doesn't matter who else they might have been interested in because they're probably just going to do whatever Kevin Plank tells them to do. And I hope that it works out. I really do. I hope desperately that it works out. But I
kind of like the idea of Murray coming in when we first started talking about it, but that was only because I know I couldn't get total consciousness on my deathbit, but maybe I could get like partial.
Yes.
You
got that going for you. You got that going for you, which is nice, right?
Yeah, very nice.
It's very nice. God. All right.
Stupid.
It's easy to say it's 10 games. There's no reason to be, teams have 10-game stretches where they go the best teams in baseball will go 4-6 over 10-game stretches multiple times this season, except maybe the Dodgers. They might not. That said, I think that there is real concern that exists that it's not just about 4-6. It's about 42-46 from June 21st on last year and 4-6 to start this year, and a team that we all thought needed upgrades in the offseason but kind of seemed on paper at least to go the other way and not even be quite as good. And I don't think it's unfair to have genuine concerns about where this baseball team is.
No, I mean, I don't think it's unfair. I mean, the problem I have is that you had those people bitching before any of this stuff happened to even let it play out. That, again, I wasn't thrilled with the Charlie Morton signing, but I don't think he was brought in to be your number two whatsoever. They did have some injuries, but, it would have been nice to see them make a run at one of the starting pitchers. But honestly, last year, I don't know who anybody wanted that was going to come here, because if it was the contracts that those guys got, I'm not paying any of those guys. But, again, it's the catch-22. It's also – like I have more wholesale problems with what they did with the lineup on Sunday than I do with even the starting pitching, because I think that stuff's going to work itself out, and then eventually they'll make a move. You can't win the pennant in April, but you sure can lose it, and we don't want to see anything go awry here with Arizona. I mean, they have some good teams that they're going to play, and some teams that maybe you don't think are that good that are actually decent. But with this starting pitching, the batting, it's got to come around and kind of carry them, at least in my opinion, for a while. Because you can't, like, Charlie Morton had 2 starts. He struck out a ton of guys, but he made a couple of really big mistakes. And I think that's who Charlie Morton is at this point of his career. Like, he's probably going to be a guy with an ERA close to 5. And then he'll have some games where he gets his 8 to 10 Ks. And you're just hoping it's not all in the same game, because that was really weird on Thursday. Sagano, I thought, like, even then people are higher on him after watching the second start. But I got to be honest, with the weather in that stadium, that was, hey, just throw strikes and they're not going to hit it out, because the wind was blowing in and it was so cold there. I thought it was a perfect situation for him. But again, maybe he'll be fine. The only ones that you can really kind of look at and go, hey, Zach Eflin's been great. Charlie Morton's been awful. I don't know what to tell you about Kramer. So to me, Kramer's
he's been Dean Kramer. That's what he's been. Like,
yeah,
he's Dean Kramer's a fifth starter that like you don't need to save a spot in your rotation for. Like that's what he is. We've got enough of a track record to know that. It's really funny because I hear all the complaints about yesterday and I get it, right? I completely get it. And in no world do I think it was okay that Jorge Mateo was playing center field in particular.
It's easy to make that case because he drops that ball or misplays.
It makes it far. And as I said before, there have been people that have been clamoring to give Jorge Mateo an opportunity to play in the outfield that then turtled up about it after they actually put him in the outfield. But I'm not one of them. I've never thought that he needed a different position. I'm in this weird place where all the ire goes towards Brandon Hyde, but we know better. Like we should know better. Not because I think Brandon Hyde's been great, but because Brandon Hyde's not working against the wishes of the front office. Like, he didn't put that lineup together yesterday spitting in the face of Mike Elias and Sig Mejdal and that group. He did it in concert with them. This is what they want. He kind of told us that after the game when he said, hey, we went out and signed all these right-handed batters in the offseason. I got to play them at some point. Like, they're doing this together. When we direct our ire at Brandon Hyde, I keep saying over and over again, Brandon Hyde is gone tomorrow. The next manager is going to be expected to do the same things. Like, that's just...
Well, I think they're going to want an analytical guy, because that falls in line with everything they like to do. Again, like, here's the catch-22 and everything, because I'm not expecting everyone to be... I guess I would be deemed to be optimistic more than most, just because I'm one of those guys that's like, it's a long season. I'll worry when it's time to worry, and I don't think it is time yet. But I do understand other people going, hey, you got to do something sooner than later, because you don't want to get to that point where it's like, oh, yeah, now it's time to worry, but we've already dug a hole so big, it's going to be impossible to get out of. Because this is a tough division, any way you slice it. But I still feel like you just got Gunnar back. He's been hitting the hell out of the ball, but right at somebody. I mean, the exit velocity has been great off the bat. It's just he doesn't have anything to show for it. I think he hits his first homer tonight. I actually like them a lot tonight, and I think we see runs in Arizona. But that being said, like, what happens if Zach Eflin comes out tonight and craps the bed? What are people going to say tomorrow? Like, he's the one guy you've been able to rely on, and I don't know that you want Zach Eflin to be your stopper. I think he's capable of being it, but if you don't trust any one of your other four pitchers, I think you're in trouble. Cade Povich deserved better yesterday, but it is what it is.
He deserved better, except, like, I can't – it's so funny, right? Like, I know that's true, but he also still gave up 12 other hits. Like, he –
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, in the beginning, you can see things unravel with the pitchers real quick.
Right.
You got a guy on third, and they have one out at that point in time because Witt hit second, I believe. And it ends up in a triple. You almost got it's a foregone conclusion unless you strike out the next batter. That guy's probably getting in. And then it just changes everything. And he did give up a bunch of hits. I thought he pitched better than what, getting out of some jams and things like that. It was 4-0 for the longest time, and then it finished 4-1.
I think the weird part for me is that, like, I am at the place where what I've seen from Cade Povich is this is why I think this guy might be a major league pitcher, but they need more than this guy might be a major league pitcher right now. Like, if Cade Povich was the only issue in the rotation, you'd say, by all means.
Then you wouldn't have a problem.
Right. You would have no problem whatsoever with where you are. But everyone's an issue in this road. They have one starting pitcher. They have one. And, God,
and the other problem with it, too, is, like, you're hoping you get Grayson back. I don't know if we're being told 100% the truth of what's going on with him. It sounds like it, but it does make me worry because his situation looks almost identical to Garrett Cole's last year, where he pitched through an injury and then the next year he needed Tommy John.
Right.
I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but it feels very similar. The other part of it, too, is, Bradish has been throwing. You're hoping you're getting him back midway through the season. But if you get to that point and you're so far behind the 8 ball, what does it matter?
It's a great point. It's a great point, man. Like, this is and I don't have the easy answer either, because I
2 words, Kyle Gibson.
There you go. He solves everything. Your problems are solved. That's the way it goes. All right.
Yeah, because if there's too many innings to eat, we've got all these innings eaters.
Correct.
Rob was laughing about that. He goes, I'm tired of this innings eater stuff. Just pitch well. I don't care. pitch 4 good innings. Just don't pitch
I
bad.
mean, either be great for 4 innings or have somebody. And that, by the way, it's funny we say this. Like with Morton, if he sucks, let him suck for 6 innings, right? Like if he's just gonna you don't go pull him after 3 because he sucks. He's just gonna have to be the guy that's gonna. You're a mercenary. You're 41 years old. You're pitching until your arm falls off. Until we have better options. If you don't have a better option, he's just got it. He's got to go suck for 6 innings and deal with it.
I was at Morton's game, and it was just like, holy hell, how many Ks does he have? And how did he walk a guy? Because he's going to give up a home run now because that's what he's done the entire game.
That's what he does.
And you go back to it and you look at that game. So in specific, and I know this isn't going to matter to some people because both pitchers pitched in it, but like that was a horrible day for pitchers with the wind blowing out, and it was warmer than what you expected on an early April game. And on top of it, I'm sitting there going, I even said on my show, I said, I think there's going to be a bunch of home runs tonight. There were 4 hit, and there were a couple other ones that were tattooed to the wall in center. But, it was one of those nights where you don't want to be a pitcher, but this is what we have. We have 2 games by Charlie Morton, and neither one of them are good. So
that's a fact.
Take it for what it's worth.
What's it look like for you this week?
So it's, obviously we'll talk national championship, the Orioles, and depending on how it goes in Arizona. But we're getting closer and closer to the draft. Tomorrow, all of us back again, and then Ed's back in the studio next week.
Love that.
So,
That's great. I sent him a text last week. We chatted for a little bit. Very happy. That's wonderful news, and looking forward to having him back. All right, at Concrete Locks.
Doing well, yeah.
Yeah, ConcreteLocks.com, at JCon Sports, and the Big Bad Morning Show on the Fan. Appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Anytime, man. I'll see you.
Thanks, dude. Jeremy Conn with us as he is every Monday here on GCR. Quick run through from lacrosse over the weekend. Go figure the Big Ten, man. Well, Maryland, Ohio State ends up being massive, obviously, on Saturday out in Columbus. Ohio State came to Hopkins. If you've not seen Ohio State, they have a goalie. His name's Caleb Fyock. He is the big boy, like big boy goalie. And he is unreal, dude. Like, he is so good. I think he's from Bowie, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he's from Bowie. He went to the high school in D.C. But he is this big dude. They list him at 6'2", 297.
Oh.
And somehow he seems even bigger than that.
The Ravens
like
won
when
the
you watch
offensive
him play.
lineman,
Yeah,
right?
right? And my God, it is wild. Like, it is a spectacle. It's like the first time I ever saw Cam Newton, where I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, what is this? That's what I feel like when I watch Caleb Fyock, man. It's crazy. And he was dominant on Saturday as Ohio State came to Hopkins and won 14-10. And Hopkins is in trouble. They've lost 3 in a row for their last 5. They're now 6-5 on the year. They are in serious danger of missing the NCAA tournament altogether, which would be devastating given the hopes they had going into the year of getting back to championship weekend. Maryland, meanwhile, becomes the next team to fall into the Rutgers crucible as they fell 8-6 on the road on Saturday. Maryland's now lost 2 out of their last 3 in the Big Ten. And the Big Ten, it's Ohio State's league to win now at this point. But Michigan, like they lost to Penn State. Anybody, to some extent, can beat anybody. I hate to say it, but the one exception at the moment appears to be Hopkins. Like, they appear to kind of be the odd man out in all of that. But, Maryland falls 8-6 on the road at Rutgers. They have Ohio State, and then they have the Hopkins game. Loyola finally gets their first win of the season. They were down 3 in the fourth quarter. It was looking really bad. But they put together a stirring comeback and won 12-11 in overtime at Bucknell, so bully for them. Loyola Towson is tomorrow night. It's a real shame that, like, because Loyola has been on – like, that's the only thing about moving that game, like, deeper into the season to put it on a Tuesday night is that, like, it kind of – yes, I don't know what the weather is going to be like tomorrow night. The advantage would be you get better weather and maybe more people come out because of the weather. The disadvantage would be a situation like this where there's no sting anymore because Loyola has gotten the record has been so bad this year. Navy stays afloat in Patriot League consideration as they get a key win against Lafayette on Friday night, 14-8. Towson has certainly asserted themselves as the team to beat in the CAA once again after a rough start. They're back to 500 for the year after their 4th straight win. They won at Monmouth on Saturday. As I mentioned, they get Loyola tomorrow. There's still Fairfield is still lingering there, I guess, in that CAA conversation. And UMBC bounced back from their first conference loss, and they beat UMass Lowell on Friday. Bunch of teams bunched up at the top of the America East. UMBC and Bryant are tied at the top of the standings there. So that's sort of your trip around local college lacrosse for the weekend. And a weird weekend where, like, the results were good for the teams that are still trying to fight to get into the tournament, like Towson and UMBC. But the teams that, like, coming into the year you thought had a chance of winning a national championship, you got now, again, Hopkins is back into the conversation of fighting it into the NCAA tournament. Maryland certainly doesn't look as dominant as they did when they beat Notre Dame a few weeks ago. So that's the world of college lacrosse from the weekend. When we come back in, we'll get a tidbit, we'll get tubular, and we will start to wind things down for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious spilling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4, available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, winding down for a Monday edition of the program. Again, the Orioles will open up a series in Arizona tonight. We'll tell you more about that in a second when we get the tubular. I think we've covered everything that needed to be covered from the weekend. Whatever. If we forgot something, we'll... Oh, I guess I only passingly referenced Alex Ovechkin breaking the record. Alex Ovechkin broke the record. It's a weird vibe, right? Because I have no personal connection to it. Oddly, I do have a personal connection to it, but it's to Wayne Gretzky, right? Like
you guys were best friends.
Yeah. We weren't best friends, but I got to be around him a lot when I was in Arizona, and it was really a pleasure. I've kind of joked. I don't know how much he truly cared about
coaching.
Yeah, it's unfair to say that. I think he liked the idea of coaching. I don't know that how invested he was in becoming one of the great coaches of all time. But he was a really nice guy and someone who, despite his overwhelming fame, this is something that, again, because of your age, you would know. Wayne Gretzky hosted Saturday Night Live. Wayne Gretzky was a major celebrity. You don't see that in hockey. For Alex Ovechkin is a famous hockey player, but is not transcended into him having great celebrity beyond sport. Wayne Gretzky had real celebrity. Married an actress, was a big pop culture figure, besides just being considered the greatest hockey player of all time. And I still think he's the greatest hockey player of all time, right?
Whoa.
I don't even know how that's debatable. Alex Ovechkin isn't going to sniff Wayne Gretzky's points for his career because Wayne Gretzky did like everything offensively. Alex Ovechkin is an incredible scorer, like an unbelievable scorer.
You say that. He's only about 1,200 behind.
Yeah, just about 1,200. That's
in
it.
the assist department.
Could close that any day now. There's like if there's a debate about who the greatest player of all time is, it's still between Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe. It's not. Alex Ovechkin isn't in that conversation, but he is now the greatest goal scorer of all time because he's scored the most. But I say that all to say, like, I had this really unique opportunity to be around Wayne Gretzky a lot. And Wayne Gretzky was, I wouldn't say affable as much as he was just pleasant. Like, he was very nice. He was very kind. He was happy to do interviews. He had this everyman quality despite his celebrity. I think part of it is why he liked being in Arizona is, like, in Canada, he would have been, like, if Wayne Gretzky sneezed in Canada, it would have been a mob scene around him at all times. Like in Arizona, he was living in a place where a lot of famous people lived, and it was kind of cool for him to just be able to like go play golf and not have his day be ruined because of his celebrity and his fame. But I really liked Wayne Gretzky. I was really appreciative of the time I was able to spend around him. He was very nice to me. He invited me golfing.
Jeez, wow.
Hilarious because
you're so good at golf, yeah.
I can't golf.
And you probably smoked them.
And I remember like everybody with the Coyotes being like, dude, if he invites you, you better go. And I was like,
wait a minute.
What?
You didn't go?
Well, because I knew I was going to embarrass myself.
So?
Oh, man.
Take a lesson.
I couldn't do that.
How bad are you at golf?
You have no idea.
You can't be that. I'm terrible at golf.
Griffin,
but
you have no idea how bad I am at golf.
You can get the ball off the ground, right?
Sometimes. It's awful. I mean, it's terrible, and I just wasn't going to put... I remember it's funny, too, because like when I was in high school and college, I would go play with my dad, and I really wasn't that bad. Like, I wasn't good, but I was not dramatically worse than the guys that we were playing with, right? Like, he would bring it... I would be out with my dad and his buddies, and, like, I was about the same as them. And then something happened after college, and, like, it's embarrassing. Like, I can't... A couple things. I cannot stop myself from picking up whenever I hit the ball. Like I lift my body up whenever I do it, and it's unimaginable how bad it is. So yeah, I did not. I chose not to go golfing with Wayne Gretzky when invited. But I did some other things with Wayne Gretzky. I think I've told the story about like Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure, and Norm Macdonald's like, let's go to Wayne Gretzky's house. Are you that? I'm not that close with Wayne Gretzky that I think it's just cool for me to show up at his house. Are you that close with Wayne Gretzky? I think I am. Okay.
And then the three of you went golfing.
No, that did not occur. No, Norm and I went bowling. That was a wonderful time. So when everybody was like, boy, Wayne Gretzky's handling this really well, and he's being... that doesn't surprise me. Like, Wayne Gretzky is a very kind, thoughtful man. And... I appreciate that for a younger generation that doesn't know what a big deal Wayne Gretzky was. Like, there's been a bit of a reintroduction to Wayne Gretzky and his greatness over the course of the last couple of weeks. Congratulations to Alex Ovechkin. Despite the fact that to me there's nothing local about it. I'm not a Capitals fan. Like, a couple people were trying to rile me up by like the Orioles and Ravens sending tweets, and apparently the Ravens like lit the stadium in red last night. Like, it's thirsty, but that's the age of the internet. Like, it's so. How can I get attention for something that has nothing to do with me? Like, that's just what we do. That's the age of the internet.
25 miles down the road, right?
Great. It's nothing to do with them in any way. Like, not even a little bit.
The Ravens were a big part of it.
Not even the smallest part. Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't remember that coming up
in the speech.
But that's whatever. Like, At a younger age, I would have piss and vinegar about that type of stuff. Whatever. I don't care. It's thirsty, but that's what we do. We're all very thirsty for attention on the internet. So, God bless them. Like, I also don't think I'm going to care what color the lights at M&T Bank. Imagine that being something that I care about, right? Like, this thing I don't see or notice. I'm furious. Stop. Like, they wanted some attention, and here's your attention. They got it. God bless them. And as I said before, I've also if that's what you're into, there's a small part of me that remains bothered by, hey, if you're a sports fan in this area, I wish you cared about lacrosse. I wish you invested yourself in local college basketball. It's always felt hinky to me that, like, we glom on to something that has nothing to do with us instead of being more invested in the things that actually impact and matter in this community. Like, I feel that way. I'm not going to hide from that. It's not as cool, right? Like, by the way, and let me make this abundantly clear. It was not like this when there was no Alex Ovechkin, right? Like, nobody. If I say now there's very few people in Baltimore that actually care, imagine the number that existed before Alex Ovechkin existed. Drew. End of list. This became the hip thing because Alex Ovechkin was cool, and the Capitals started wearing red, and there was Alex Ovechkin and the red, and like it just became this cool thing. And that enough of us go down to D.C. to do other things because it's close enough anyway that it became part of the equation. I wish that we cared about Towson basketball, UMBC basketball. But I get it. It's not as cool. It's not as hip. It's. I don't want to say we're posers, but we kind of are, right? Like, we all want to glom on to the cool thing. And so we do that. And it's not as much fun or rewarding to be invested in things that they wouldn't talk about on SportsCenter, although they don't really talk about hockey on SportsCenter either, ironically. But, like, they don't not all the games are on TV, and there's not, as many hot girls that go to the games because they want to meet a Swedish hockey player, right? Like, that's the only, like, actual feeling I have about this. Whatever you're into is what you're into. God love you, right? Like, if people like the Washington Capitals, by all means, like the Washington
So you
Capitals.
wish you didn't break the record, huh?
No, I bully for him. He seems like a fine fella. I know a lot of people don't like his connection to Vladimir Putin, but I get that that's complicated in Russia, like where if you don't show fealty to Vladimir Putin, you might be at risk of, like, your family being unalived. So I understand that that's a complicated conversation. If that's what floats your boat, that's what floats your boat. I'm never going to pretend like it's a local story. It's not. We can't make it one because people like that. And trust me, we tried. We spent years, man, over at the old radio station doing survey after survey, and we've done more here to try to figure out if we covered the Washington Capitals more, could we make money off of that? And the answer over and over and over and over and over and over again was no. And there are some things that I cover despite the fact that we can't make money off of it, right? Like, I'm going to cover local sports. We don't make any. We will not profit off of me paying attention to, Loyola basketball. But it's local. I believe that it's part of your responsibility to do that. I do. I feel that way. I'll never feign that way about the Washington Capitals or the Washington Wizards or whatever other Washington teams you like. If you like the Mystics or the D.C. Defenders or the Nationals or whatever, if you're into that, yeah, sure, be into that. But I'm not going to pretend like it's local. I can't. When there is a local connection, like Dwayne Simpkins, who was a great Maryland basketball player, winning a championship and going to the NCAA tournament American, then there's a local. I can go that route. But I can't pretend like something is that isn't. And it would be feigning for me because I don't have those feelings. I don't have a connection personally with Washington. It's a place that I visited. I've worked there. It's fine. I also have gone to Philadelphia a lot over the years. You know where I really love? I love New Orleans. It's like my favorite city in the country. You know what I'm not going to suddenly do today is pretend like we should be talking about the New Orleans Pelicans. But it's an amazing sports accomplishment. And that was the part, like, it's funny because Rita and I were having that conversation yesterday on the air as it was happening. Like, from a sports standpoint, I do think it's amazing. I think the story of how Alex Ovechkin got to this record is incredible. Like, that it seemed impossible. The math was never in his favor, and particularly as it looked like his career was starting to wind down. And I remember having conversations with Drew, because Drew does care about the Capitals, where I was like, dude, if you're the Capitals, you got to suck. You got to sell out to let this guy break this record, because you have no existence. Your entire existence is this one person. You are irrelevant as a franchise other than the existence of this one human. So if he brings down your franchise for 6 years, you let him. As it turns out,
They've elevated.
It's
Yeah,
almost the exact opposite of that. Like, right when you thought he was the problem, he went right back to being one of the best players. Like, it's insane the year that he's having at this age. Like, it's bonkers what he's doing at this age. It's a really and obviously the Capitals are very good. It's an unbelievable sports story. It's not a local sports story, right? But it's incredible. Like, there was no world, like when you saw the math a few years ago. Other than, if you did it sort of shamefully, where you just said, all right, let him play till he's 44 to try to chase after this record. And as it turns out, he did it still in the prime of his career because he's been able to stretch the prime out until 40 years old. That's incredible. It really is a remarkable thing. So if you're a Washington Capitals fan, cool moment, 100%. It was the dope sports moment. And even if you're not a Washington Capitals fan, I think that you can appreciate the cool sports moment part of it. Like, you could feel the energy, you could feel the, you're playing a team's playing on the road and yet the place is going bonkers for you. Like, it's just that neat of a sports moment. So there you go. That's my take. We got a tidbit?
Yeah, we do.
Tidbit can be brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour because it's back tonight. Stan, Ross, and Luke back in action.
And they're talking Ovechkin, right?
No.
Oh.
They are, of course, getting you ready for Orioles Diamondbacks tonight, 7:30 with the late night start out in Arizona. They're going to do a 7:30 show ahead of the series, so you can check that out, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan's shows are brought to you by the Costas Inn.
The Miami Redhawks, Miami, Ohio, they snapped the Ohio dodgeball drought.
Oh, yeah.
Hadn't won a national championship, the state of Ohio, and as they say, it finally came home.
Man, finally
congrats
came.
to Miami. The good news is that Cincinnati didn't win.
Oh, thank God.
We all hate Cincinnati.
We sure do.
So it's it's
Their
pretty.
Chili gave me diarrhea.
It was a crazy finish. It was
That's
kind
what
of
everybody's
more
saying
upsets than we had, just because the Final Four had so many upsets.
Right.
We just typically don't get that very often in dodgeball. It's always it's such a favorite-dominated sport, it feels like, especially in the later rounds.
Parodies come to
but yeah,
it comes
Miami,
to us all, doesn't it?
Miami was down 2-0. They had to come back. They tied it, sent it to
I've
overtime.
indulged.
They were down to their last guy.
Wow.
They were down to their last guy in overtime.
Wow.
He made a catch. Miami comes back.
How about
gets
that?
the overtime win.
How about that?
It was pretty electric. It was pretty electric.
If you say so.
Looks like Cleveland State did a good job hosting. So
very good.
Shout out to everybody involved.
Sure, you got it. Now.
That's what I got. Yeah. Rafael Devers. He becomes the only player in the modern era to go hitless with at least 15 strikeouts over a 5-game span.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, of course, his start to the season.
Yeah.
And then 10 hits over the next 5 games.
Son of a bitch.
So Rafael Devers apparently is okay.
Yeah.
And
so
do the Red Sox. Red Sox also look pretty okay.
Good for them.
Yes. Here's a good one, though. The Duke under John Shire had been 79-0 when leading by 10 points at any point ever in the game.
How about that? They were, of course, up by 14 in the second half.
They were up by 14 with, 10 minutes ago? Something like that? Yeah. 79-1 now, of course, as they come back after being down by 14.
You just hate to see it.
Yeah, you do.
You're just devastated for those
We've
guys.
had now 3 14-point comebacks in the Final Four or the title game in the last 3 seasons. Yeah, 20 or 4 seasons, I guess.
I don't remember that.
There wasn't one last year, but 2 years ago, San Diego State was down by 14 against FAU.
I don't remember. I remember one shot from that game.
Yeah.
We kind of all as a country were like, yeah, this game is happening, but
so that was 2023 Final Four, and then 2022 was that the title game? Yeah, that was the title game when Kansas or UNC was up 16, and then Kansas came back to beat them.
Oh, right, yeah. UNC was up big. That's right. I do remember that.
And then Kansas came back. They were down 16 and came back to win and beat North Carolina. So a lot of crazy crazy comebacks.
Look, if you're just a generic basketball fan on Saturday, even beyond the fact that Duke, it was a really good comment. Other than the fact that they took like a combined 8 hours. It was just a really good duo of basketball games.
Is there any way to fix that? I don't know.
No, everybody. I get the frustration about the monitor thing, but like this is also the Final Four.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we get the calls right. If the answer is they start the first game at 5:30, maybe I don't know. I don't really have an answer for this. Like No. That's the answer. It was a unique problem for me because I had to be up at 5 a.m. on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So I was very frustrated. But for everybody else, I think it still ended at like midnight. It didn't go until 3 in the morning. It's these college football games that are going until 3:30 in the morning. Like those are problems.
Those are great.
Yeah, for people that are under the age of 30. For the rest of us, it just doesn't work.
Walter Clayton Jr., first player with a 30-point game in the Elite Eight and the Final Four of the same NCAA tournaments since 1979.
Lou Alcindor.
No. He was not in college.
Yeah, he was gone.
Like,
Magic Johnson.
Not Magic.
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird from Indiana State had 30 back-to-back 30-point games in the same tournament. Can he make it 3 in a row? Let's see. I'm not going to put it past him.
I don't know. Jeremy likes the under tonight.
Yeah,
so.
back-to-back 30. Yep, the only player or the first player with back-to-back since Larry Bird to do that. And then you want to do? Yeah, okay. We'll do the Wooden Award. Cooper Flagg did win the Wooden Award.
First freshman.
Yes, fourth freshman.
Fourth freshman. He was the fourth freshman?
Who were the 3 others? Oh, apparently you don't know.
Man, I really don't know. I don't know why I thought it was Anthony Davis.
Yes, Anthony Davis.
All right.
He was the second to do it.
He was the second to do it. So then, I mean, I don't think Carmelo Anthony won it, but I guess I should say it because we think of him as being the greatest freshman of all time.
It was not Carmelo.
Yeah.
Who won it? That was 2003. Who won the Wooden Award?
Who else was a freshman that won? And one was before Anthony Davis.
Correct.
My. Durant?
Kevin Durant, yes, was the
Okay.
first freshman to win. Yes, to win the Wooden Award. So that would have been 03 that Carmelo was a freshman.
Yeah.
TJ Ford.
TJ Ford had a hell of a season. I didn't realize he won the Wooden Award.
He was a sophomore.
It's also the difficulty on the Wooden Award is like maybe the Naismith Award, like it's not like the Heisman where we've just accepted that there's one player of the year and it's this heralded thing. The Naismith Award has been just as significant as the Wooden Award has been over the years. So
Flagg did win that one too.
Was he the first freshman to win the Naismith Award?
No, he was not.
No? Okay.
The same 4.
Same 4 also won the Naismith Award?
Yeah.
Ay. I don't know who the other one was. I'm trying to think of other. Derrick Rose?
Not Derrick Rose.
Oh, it was after Anthony Davis.
Yeah, it was after Anthony Davis. So, yeah, Durant was the first in 07. Anthony Davis AD in 2012. And then, won't give you the year just yet.
It's got to be a Duke player. Kyrie?
Not Kyrie, but yes, it is a Duke player.
It is a Duke player. Zion
in 2019, winning the Wooden and the Naismith Award for the record. But yeah, he became the Cooper Flagg becoming the 4th freshman.
All right. Bully for Cooper Flagg.
Bully for the Wizards. Yeah.
Well, we can have this conversation. All right, let's get totally tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. Masson 2 tonight, Orioles, Diamondbacks, 9:40. Zach Eflin and Zach Gallen, the pitching matchup. If you also happen to specifically live in either the Houston or Seattle markets, then you can watch the end of the game as it's joined in progress on MLB Network at 11:30.
Nice.
So
hear that, Lucas? He is out in Seattle.
There you go, right? But you can't watch the whole game. And since baseball games don't go that long anymore, I'm not exactly sure how much will be left in it at that point. Title game tonight, 8:50. 8:50, sure, on CBS. Florida and Houston from down in San Antonio. Let's go, you Cougs. Whose house? Cougs' house.
Who ride? We ride.
What, is that Florida?
No, that's not.
I don't know what. I guess they're
know
just
who says
chomp.
that.
I don't know what they do there. Masson, Dodgers, Nationals, 6:45. MLB Network, Yankees, Tigers at 6:40. And then for most of the country, Astros, Mariners joined in progress late tonight MLB TV for Reds Giants at 9:45. NBA TV Kings Pistons at 7. NHL Network Blues Jets at 7:30. The USA Network for Leicester and Newcastle United at 3. Netflix has WWE Monday Night Raw at 8. Some non-sports highlights.
Let's see. If you don't feel like watching basketball at 9:00 on Fox, there's apparently a TMZ presents the Menendez brothers, where they interview the Menendez brothers from prison. So if anyone's into that, you can check that out on Fox tonight at 9.
Okay.
We got on Netflix. Kill Tony is coming to Netflix, I guess now. So the Tony Hinchcliffe his comedy show thing that he does, where he has random comedians come up and some that are good or some that are bad.
Okay.
So Kill Tony's going to Netflix. I think it's just going to be like his normal Kill Tony show.
Okay, if you say so.
You're not a Tony Hinchcliffe guy.
I thought his thing at the Brady roast was good, but the more I watched of him, the more I was just like, it's very hit or miss.
The Kill Tony stuff's fine. As far as late nights go, Eric Andre will be on Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay, it's just him. I only do a bit when it's multiple.
Just him. I think he's got a podcast coming out.
I like Eric Andre. So.
And apparently it's called Bombing with Eric Andre. And so he's going to talk about times where he apparently bombed.
All right. I look forward to
that. Which I can't imagine he ever having one bad performance. He's Eric Andre.
He's great.
Colbert's going to have Cory Booker. Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
And Keegan-Michael Key.
Oh, they're promoting Wicked.
The three of them?
Yes, the three of them together. A movie that came out months ago. They just really enjoyed it, and so they want people to know.
6 months ago.
It's available on Peacock now, so that's what they're doing.
So they're doing that on CBS.
Yes, correct.
Of course, with Colbert.
Makes sense.
Sure. Bella Ramsey and Adam Levine will be on Jimmy Fallon.
I see. This is actually very interesting. They're promoting Easter.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's late this year, so people might have forgotten about it.
Right. Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
They might not be aware that we're still doing it on April 20th.
Okay.
So it's just an awareness thing.
That's the only thing going on that day.
Where they're sending Bella Ramsey and Adam Devine out to let people.
Not Adam
know.
Devine, Adam Levine.
Oh, this is Adam Levine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that change?
I think it's interchangeable. I think on some of the tour stops it's Devine, and some tour stops it's Levine.
They're both though big Easter guys.
They're both. Yep, 100%.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Tracy Ellis Ross and Kit Connor will be on Seth Meyers.
They're actually promoting the Big East.
Really?
Yeah. So it's the other guys. They're promoting the Big East.
I'm sure they're excited. Kevin Willard is.
Yes, very excited about it. They're ready. Tracy Ellis Ross in particular is very excited to talk about that.
Because I thought she's on the new season of Black Mirror, so I thought for sure that's.
You would think that, right?
That
would make sense. But no, it's the Big East.
Kit Connor is in this movie called Warfare that actually looks pretty good. It's coming out in theaters Friday. And it's a surveillance mission goes wrong for these Navy SEALs out in Iraq in 2006. And it looks pretty intense. Right. Will Poulter's in it. It looks...
We're going to talk about Jackson Holliday and Will Poulter at some point. Are we going to have that conversation?
Why Will Poulter's trying to copy Jackson Holliday?
I don't know which way it went first, but When his helmet came offline into third base, I looked at him and
has Will Poulter ever had long hair like that?
Well, he's done it in The Bear. He did the.
Okay.
Yep. 100%. There's a thing there.
Okay, yeah, you know what? Yeah. I guess
there's a thing there. I don't know who's biting who, but there's a thing. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that is it.
All right, very good.
Yeah, that's everything.
Thanks today to Jon Meoli. Thanks to Jeremy Conn. Thanks to Zach Moore. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow, Patrick Stevens, of course, will put the finishing touches on college hoops season. That's the title game tonight.
And I believe we'll catch up with the new head basketball coach of Navy.
Oh, John Perry, right? Will join us tomorrow.
And
Stuff and things. Great. Thanks, everybody at PressBox. All of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Baltimore's Classic 5 Golf Courses, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, The Costa Sin, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, BuyAToyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Birds. Selfishly go Houston. Duke sucks.